Good morning and a warm welcome once again to Sunrise. I'm Joke Rogers.
It's warm. It's sunrise.
Yeah, as you can see.
I'm Ayo Makine. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Yes.
What's the most cheering news of the week?
Well,
we will not negotiate with terrorists.
Yes. Certainly we will.
Man, it's like the federal government decided to go Gestapo.
Yeah,
this time.
It's not today that the federal government has been saying it, but maybe now it's time to actually come out and do it and let it be known that we're serious. We will not negotiate with terrorists. So
I heard that the federal government went after the families of the kidnappers.
Isn't that better?
Hey,
that's when you see all these things, even outside of Nigeria, when you're looking for someone that's wanted and all that, you go look for their families, because their families are the closest people to them, so they're likely to know where they are, what they're doing. When they come home, let us know, all those kind of things, So
this is what they call Gestapo.
Like something out of a movie.
Honestly, right? And I'm also happy that no one is pushing back on that. Pushing back against, both ruling and opposition parties are on all fours about the fact that now the federal government is pretty much biting, not just barking, saying that, look, you go after our people, we go
after your people. That's just it.
That's really
and
admirable.
I think it's about time too, because this insecurity matter is actually getting out of hand. By the time we started moving and we started hearing things from North Central and the Southwest and I say, what's going on here? Like, this is...
Back in the 70s, 80s, armed robbery was largely in the South.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge.
Yes.
Was largely in the South, Southwest, Middle East, Midwestern, and all of those things.
Yeah.
Those were the, but the Aninis, the Oyenusis, and all of those things.
Yes.
But now to be hearing of what someone calls commercial kidnapping, it's even unthinkable in the first place. So now that this is happening, I think that is one way to go about it. But that is what some people will call, a reactive agenda. The proactive thing would be to forestall it in the first place.
Yeah.
In the wake of the abductions of 2014, the Chibok girls' abductions, a good number of people were trying to check what exactly, is at the root of all of this. What are the things found? Unemployment, poverty, lack of education, social amenities all gone. Those were the things that made those parts of Nigeria vulnerable. So the young people were looking for anything.
And then there are also reports. There are some people we spoke to some time ago that deal with such social issues in the north. They do research on it, and that what some of these bandits and terrorists do is they go to those communities, and in exchange for whatever, they say, we'll protect you.
Yes.
And so they mingle with them.
Yes.
And under the guise of protecting them, and they from there launch their attacks on their soft target.
But if the people were protected ab initio, if the people had food, there was no poverty, there was food, there was shelter, there was clothing, and all the things that were social protection of sorts for the people, I don't think they would be open to all of that. But now, and so that leads me to the issue, another thing that the president talked about, that the traditional rulers should talk to their governors.
Yeah.
And I found that a little dramatic. That's the second time the president is saying it. I think I remember at some point, there was some other traditional rulers from another part of the nation that went to visit the president, and the president was also raising the same thing. Talk to your governors. They're getting a lot more money now. Let them do stuff, let them bring governance closer to the people. And the president was throwing jabs. It's not a bad idea to build flyovers, but can you build other things, Lord, that can make lives better for the people? So, and I cascaded that to, okay, if the governors were doing what they were supposed to be doing, maybe will we still need as many policemen as we do? Because we really do need policemen.
Yeah.
And then there is the local government administrations. Are they at liberty enough to do the things that they're supposed to do? Just the 10 or so functions of local governments in the constitution. I think that's pretty much what the people need.
Yes, and you know, when we look at recruitment of security personnel and all that, aside from the now regionalized security groups, you know, before we started talking about state police, I used to wonder the recruitment into the police force, you know, the federal police force, is it nearly enough to police Nigeria? Because some of these, we can even it's until we started hearing about insecurity in, you know, parts of the south. And we wonder, even in the south, there are some places I've never heard of. Do you understand? Like, oh, this place exists, and even those places too, it's so large grounds, places you call ungoverned, ungoverned spaces.
So wide and all.
So, you know, how do you start? Where do you want to start from? How do you want to govern or police those places? Even if you recruit, how many are you going to recruit? It's nearly not enough without, you know, new technology. Yesterday, there were a couple of stories coming out from the military in the army that they're exploring ways of adopting AI and, you know, new technology in combating security, which is what you need, and which is what other countries do. Where men cannot reach, technology will get there, and that's how you root out all these people.
We've seen enough. Should I say movies? To say that these things really are possible.
Yeah.
There was a movie I saw called Eagle Eye. The guy was like hundreds of miles away from Earth, and he shot, you know, a missile, and it went directly to the you know, intended this thing. Thankfully, the Oyo State government just acquired a couple of aerial surveillance equipment. Now, I don't know whether they are, you know, they are manned by anyone, or by technology, but of course, from what we saw, you know, a man could sit in it. So that is also possible. It was in this country that we heard that someone could farm, as in literally farm, without a human being. In this same country, and technology makes it possible. The guy can sit anywhere in the world and be operating his phone and be doing whatever he's doing to farm, not just to survey, to farm. that was mind blowing for me. So there are things that are possible. Well, concerning the abductions in Oyo State, the governor has also set up a panel of inquiry to know what exactly happened. Well, we are waiting to find out all of that. You know, what's happening.
What we're also waiting for as we wrap up this segment is, finally, maybe GEJ, Goodluck Jonathan, will contest next year after all. You know, there was time he said he has not said he's doing it, but the Turaki-led group of the PDP said they have submitted his name as their candidate for 2027 general election. So here we are.
Well, I am waiting for him to come out and say, I am contesting.
Why did you or why did you submit by day? I dissociate myself from that submission.
When late President Buhari was saying, you know, he didn't have money to contest, some people bought form for him, and he contested for the election. He campaigned and contested. So I'm waiting for GJ to say, I am also, to say, I'm waiting for you to say Emiloko. Something like that.
So what do we have today? Chasing a $1 trillion dollar economy.
And we have what it takes.
We certainly do.
And then we'll be talking about can recapitalization fix insurance claims? That's a question to be answered.
And Nigeria's golden run at Glasgow 2026. So some were bronze runs.
Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Yes.
Very, very, very exciting. And then we will have the artist of the week, who is Shim. Whatever that is, you'll find out at the end at 11:30, about that time that we usually go for the show. So do us a favor, and yourself a favor, grab your cup of cocoa Or is it cocoa you prefer?
He's drinking water.
Or
I don't mind.
cocoa?
There's nothing.
Whatever.
It's water.
What I like is, let it look like I'm drinking something.
No, you're drinking something. It's called water. See on the other side.
Yeah, we use dollars because we're chasing $1 trillion economy. just to let you know, our budget is already over 1 trillion naira.
So what? I mean, so
what we are chasing.
Like easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
It should be easy peasy.
Yeah. And you know excuse me. You know, the people, we have a good panel to discuss this matter today. And one of the things that challenges me about it, there are a good number of ways to look at this particular issue. I was watching a podcast of a former special advisor on industrialization to the AFDB president yesterday, and was talking about the fact that we are losing a lot more from some industries that ought to have taken off that have not. For instance, the steel industry in Nigeria. You look at the Ajaokuta steel, and he also quoted the amount of money that we spend on importing steel that we could be producing at home. It's not that these things are not possible. The question we want to ask is, what's the problem? It was in this state, Lagos State, that the governor came and said, no bitumen. And the governor immediately after him flooded the whole town as if we had the bitumen somewhere stored, we're just bringing them back to, you know. The same thing we were having. Look at all the roads that were before, until I think sometime during the government of Buhari, was when Dangote came up and said, you know, we can actually make roads with concrete. Hitherto, and look at the Akwakwa Oshodi. I haven't seen any dent, unlike some roads. Bitumen roads, you will always need to maintain them over and over again. So now that the federal government is going all over the place, making roads as if they are building, what's that thing? Decking.
Yes, but you also know that there are some bitumen roads that if you do it well, it will last. It's because
you are right.
cutting corners.
Orago Road in Ikeja is an example.
Yes.
There is also one they call Governor's Road, somewhere I think around what's that area? Well, somewhere around Yanoba and all of that. In Lagos, those roads they have that kind of insulation. You know, so it is, and the whole point of this conversation is we have the potential to build a $1 trillion economy in Nigeria. It was one, I think it was the former vice president of Shimaji, I was saying the leather industry alone is worth trillions in Nigeria. Leather. But what have we been doing? According to the president before while he was quoted, we've been eating meat and eating our mama and all those things. So I think that's the kernel of the conversation this morning.
I guess so. In fact, don't get me going on this, please. And so
I'm eating this morning. So.
Well, you see, he's the problem.
Yes.
He's the problem. So let's just get right to it, and let's bring in, our panelists to discuss this today. We have in the studio with us the Managing Director, CEO of Coleman Wires and Cables, George Onoforoko. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We have joining us virtually Dr. Boniface Chizie, economist, CEO, BIC Consultancy Services. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
thank you.
Great to see you this morning. And we also have the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters, Tope Fashra, who joins us once again for this conversation. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you.
Right, so let me start with you, Mr. Fashra. Chasing a $1 trillion economy, Ayo has said we've exceeded, a $1 trillion budget. So, I mean, what else can we be chasing than dollars? So, you being in that position that you occupy, from where you sit, and you have some of those numbers that you're reading, is it achievable, this $1 trillion economy, or are we chasing shadows?
Well, no, we're not chasing shadows, and it is achievable. It's a good thing to have a target. Otherwise, if someone or an entity or a government does not have a target, then how do you motivate yourself to do better? So the whole idea is to have a target that you can chase, and Mr. President has done this from get-go, and we're achieving it. Let me give you some numbers already. Between 2023, the Naira GDP of Nigeria was 314 trillion. Right now, as we speak, it's 530 trillion. That's about 69% growth. The dollar GDP fell to $253 billion in 2024 after the depreciation of the Naira. Today, that dollar GDP is $377 billion, and is going to close at over $400 billion by the end of this year. Now, it's if there was a hard approach towards achieving $1 trillion economy, that's really not a big deal, but that's not the approach. The approach is to have a solid economy. For example, remember that the Naira was trading officially at about 470 Naira to the dollar when the President Tinubu took over. Even though unofficially it was about 800 Naira to the dollar. If we were still at the point of that deception, self-deception, thinking that the Naira was actually 470, already we're over $1 trillion economy now, because like I said earlier, the current Naira GDP is 530 trillion rather, 530 trillion Naira. If we divide 530 trillion by 470 Naira to the dollar, already we're over $1 trillion economy. However, that's not the focus. The focus has been to allow the Naira to achieve its true value, its productive value. Okay, more like this, the productive value that gets industry working. Okay, whereas of course it may be more expensive to obtain maybe raw materials from abroad, but that has also caused many industries to source raw materials locally. Okay, and of course it has also shifted the behavioral patterns of Nigeria, the purchasing patterns of Nigeria. The Nigerians realize that we're now buying more locally wherever we can find the opportunity. We're purchasing more locally than we are importing from abroad. Nigeria's import has fallen at a macro level. I'm talking of the import every year has fallen by about 35%, whereas exports has also increased by about 40%. The throughput in Apapa port as of 2024-25 reached a peak of about 8,809 20-foot containers of exports that was going out of the country. And we're not only exporting commodities, we're now exporting commodities and manufactured goods, including cars. Of course, you know that there are about 5 car manufacturers in Nigeria and about 7 assemblers in Nigeria that are selling to the West African region at least. You can see that Nigeria is also engaging more and more with the African, continental free trade agreement and area, and we're doing a lot more. So I think we're more interested in creating a new economy that is calibrated fundamentally towards productivity more than chasing 1 trillion. But yes, that 1 trillion is certainly achievable, and we're going to give it a good shot. And lastly, Ayo, I'll say that if we chase 1 trillion and we end up at $750 billion or 800 billion, I think that's a pass mark. So it's not a hard pass.
We want more. But because I also believe, Mr. Fashua, Dr. Fashua, there are certain industries that have not even opened up, for which we should open up, and there is no doubt that those ones will also scale us up. But I'll come back to you on that one. Let me go quickly to Dr. Chizia, because we want to be able to marry these figures, these numbers that you're talking about, Dr. Fasha, with the certain other economic realities within the country. We have Mr. Onofo to talk to us about the industries that power and can activate these. But Dr. Chizia, let me ask you, hitherto there had been that, should I say, distance between fiscal policies and monetary policies on the one hand. On the other hand, I have this thinking in my head that for a long time, federal government had almost always focused on macroeconomic issues, while Nigerians expect them to focus on macro and microeconomic issues. It would seem like largely we cut the state governments a lot of slack because we expect that the state government should be focusing on microeconomic issues while the president to support the macroeconomic initiatives of the federal government. I don't know how you see those two going, Dr. Chizia.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think that we are discussing 1 trillion naira economy by the year 2030. I think the person to say is for us to commend this government. At least they have the mindset, they have presence of mind, to say let's have a target, for the economy. Well, we've not had that for quite some time. So one thing it does for you is that as those managers of the economy, what it does to you is that at least you have a focus. So it's a projection, and you're not going to get it. That's certainly the case. But then you have a focus. So we have to say that. But I think that is a top order. But let me go back to the question they asked me. Certainly you can't have the economy grow if you don't have, if the monetary policy and fiscal policies are not pointing in the same direction. There's no way it's going to work. You have a situation today where Governor Cardoso, is pursuing, trying to manage inflation, so on, manage the exchange rates and so on. And he's done quite a good job, doing that. So at least we have some stability, which wasn't there for a long time. And for most businessmen, stability is so much important because as a business person, it's very difficult to manage uncertainty. So you're doing this round of business, you're going to do the next round of business, you don't know what's going to happen to you. But certainly what is clear today is that the fiscal authorities and monetary authorities are not pushing in the same direction. That's very clear. Obviously you find that the budget surpluses we have, which are not that transparent. I don't even maybe talk back. My friend Tokbe can maybe have the figures. But most of us out there, analysts, there's a bit of we're in the cloud as to exactly what the situation is. So you have a budget situation where the budget is not being implemented, and then people come out and tell us, you have capital allocations that are not cash backed, and then how are you going to have the 1 trillion economy in a few years time? We're talking of 2030. How are you going to do that? Look at the rates of growth of our economy. What has it been? We had the facts there. For a long time before this government came on board, we grew up barely 3%, which is lower than the rate of population growth, which means that growth and development is not being felt by the people. Now, even now, what's the rate of growth? It's still about 3.8, just barely 4%. And even the government itself, they say that by their own projection, that we have to grow by 12% to attain this objective. So I think that gives you your answer.
All right, thank you. Mr. Onofo, I mean, Dr. Fasher has given us, what the ambitious plans are. He says it's actually achievable. Dr. Chizia has given us, what it could be from an economist and analyst point of view, what those numbers could mean and, what it means to achieve them. But, we need, people like yourself to actually make those numbers a reality. The manufacturing sector, the small-scale industry, the informal sector. There's so many people that can account for this. So from a manufacturer's point of view and from a person in the business climate that's, in the nitty-gritty of it, that the government needs to make these things work, what are those things that need to get out of the way, for it to actually become a reality, for you to say, President Tinubu, we understand you, we know what you want, but I mean, if these things don't happen, there's nothing we can do about it.
Correct. Okay. First of all, I think in all fairness, everybody is commending what the government is doing today.
The federal government.
Federal government, yes.
Is doing today. There's a lot of correction. And you have to be fair on Topper here. He's also alluded to the fact that 1 trillion is possible. 700 to 800 is a pass mark. We've all done the figures. He's actually telling you where the truth might lie. And so I always love when people actually give you the insight into where the realities might land us at, which is true. An 800 by 2030 or 700 plus is actual. Figures are telling towards a 775, 800 mark. But for us to achieve that higher figure, of course, we have to do a lot more. But is it possible? Probability says it might still be possible, but the growth rate, the same way has been said earlier, we need to grow at greater than 10% per annum GDP. Now, but when it comes to the reality of it, how do we get there? Now, GDP is growing. Yes, we are now at 4%, 4.1, thereabout. But what is growing it?
Yeah.
The unfortunate part is what is growing it. It's not what creates jobs the most. They all create jobs, but literally we need volumes. Now we're growing massively in ICT, in finance, in oil and gas sector, because certain policies have been put in place to actually make these sectors do far better. The question is where employment is created is in manufacturing, agriculture, and trade. We're lagging behind a lot in that area, especially on the manufacturing sector. Now, we need to be also deliberate, and we've conversed for this. If you look at it, Q1 of this year or half year of this year, we've seen FDI increase. Fantastic. But majority of the increase also has come from FPIs. So 95% of the funds that's come into Nigeria today is foreign portfolio investment, which is short-term funds. We need long-term money. So for a manufacturer today, we need long-term money. The reality is that the long-term money and the patient's money is not that there. So the first thing you have to actually do is try looking at solving that. We are in a situation where there's an imbalance between the macro and the micro. Macro, we have to applaud the CBN governor. He has done. It's giving us peace. I can plan better today. FX is stable. We have a stable economy. Inflation is turning down. We can plan. But the question is, what will make me invest? What will make me put more money into machinery? What will make me grow my manufacturing plant? What will make me go into agriculture, processing of agriculture? Is the key question.
What's the inhibition?
Now, the inhibition is, the reality is there's a little bit of disconnect between the realities. There's no patient funds in manufacturing anymore. We used to have it. The government sold a lot of push into that area. But unfortunately, I think the unfortunate part is that we're picking stability and leaving the long-term goal.
Yeah.
BOI is struggling today. Interest rate for the first time in the history of BOI has jumped up 6% to the manufacturers. BOI is a development bank. How? I don't understand why they would even allow it. I felt sorry for the BOI MD. I felt sorry for the Minister of Industry, who literally fought against it. That, look, we should actually make sure we are funding this bank to make funding available for scaling up. Because I've had a lot of arguments with commercial banks over it, that you cannot borrow at 20-something% or 30% and grow the economy. There's no patient fund. Even if you are creating a bond at over 20%, it's not going to be viable. So we need to actually see there should be patient money to actually grow these industries. But critically also is the power sector. Now, 40% of the cost of every manufacturer goes into power. There's been deliberate attempts since 2002 to actually get power to be stable in Nigeria. But we are all still reviving over that. The inconsistencies of that over the years, not to say it's this current federal government has, so that's why I use the word 2002 till now. We're still dabbling with the same problem.
And sorry to butt in, and now we have announcement of a phased removal of subsidy from electricity from 2027.
And fair enough, because the reality is subsidy has to be removed from almost everything for you to create stability.
Yeah.
I was never in support of subsidy because unfortunately subsidy bleeds an economy, especially a country like Nigeria. A lot of us didn't benefit from all the subsidies that they have actually been doing over the years. It might look cheap, but a few people were getting enriched.
Okay.
The rest of the country was actually getting poorer. But the question is, what would I do with power? Now, today, I would do power differently for the industry. And we have fought this at MAN. And we have been fighting it for almost 10 years now. And said to them, look, rather than what they're doing is right now, they said they've decentralized. Decentralize it then, but make our life easier. A lot of the manufacturers have invested in their own IPP plant. Why in the heck Nigeria is selling power gas to a manufacturer at $8.70 and I can export this for $2. I can go to China today and buy back at $4.50, $4.60. But I'm in my own country where the gas comes out from, and I'm a manufacturer that has put $4 million or $10 million into my own IPP that I can even cluster around me, but I'm paying $8.70. We've argued with the previous government from MAN. We're arguing with the current government that, look, if you don't bring that price down to $4.50 or below $4 like you give others, you will still have a problem.
Well, Dr. Fasha will have to answer that question.
He would have to.
But before I go to him, I want to ask you this one. I mentioned it to him. You are a practitioner.
Yes.
In Nigeria, in the industries in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So you will be able to tell us what the pain points are, and then he can give us the balm to use the pain, which is there are some sectors that have not really opened up.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, there are some sectors until recently, I don't know if it's changed, we export them.
Correct.
Leather, for instance.
True.
Come back to Nigeria as made in Italy. That's just one. The federal government has been talking about value add as an edge for us in Nigeria, easing down on exporting raw materials and value adding in the country. Cocoa is another one that suffered like that over the years, and that's just for those two sectors, the agricultural industry. In industry, in the steel, we chatted, Jackie and I chatted about it the other time. The potential is there, it has been there since the 80s, and it is still very, very latent. There are those who would argue, you use steel one way or the other, there are those who would argue that if we opened up these, if we facilitated them easier, better, and more, maybe we can fast track this $1 trillion economy target.
I totally agree, because look, two things must play in that. Agriculture, we're all talking about, cannot play without manufacturing. We just don't want to be raw material sellers. I put out my Greek and I can't process to the next week. Like someone having a palm kernel and wants to sell the palm kernel seeds and also want to process palm oil. It doesn't make sense. So manufacturing cannot be out of agriculture. So it works in symbionts. The reality is this. We want to do that. We want to get things right. But how and where and the focus is all about getting things right the right way. I'll talk about cocoa that you've just said. The good news is that they're actually investors. I know $140 million being invested in Shagamu in a cocoa processing plant already today by one of the players. Because it's my job to actually know who's going into manufacturing. Right. So we saw the government's initiative also on shea butter, which basically means, because we do actually grow, we're one of the biggest growers of shea butters in the world today. Wow. But today, we just send out the seeds. But now they came up with a policy under the Ministry of Industry to actually stop that and have a 30% added value in country. And that's changed. The figures have actually changed. There's been 56 billion export in shea butter, processed shea butter, with this year alone. And that is also added value because that's manufacturing. Because you can't selling the seeds is different from me processing the seeds.
Absolutely.
Now, so you are actually having deliberate attempts on tariffs that they've also started doing that. The changes have begun. How quickly will impact us, it's a slow process because that's what happened. Certain changes in government, we have to actually say they have actually started doing some fiscal policy changes to actually enhance these things happening in country. What they also need to continue doing is that there's a focus by the federal government on 30% added value on almost everything from mining to raw materials to actually showing that we can export added value. And let's be sincere, non-oil export in Nigeria has actually increased. It's now about 23% from 17%. Now, where we want to see is that what will sustain it is the important thing.
Okay.
Let's drive that sustainability, power, pricing, patient money. Now, one thing I would want us to even think and put into, something about President Obasanjo did in his time. Unconsciously or consciously, I want to make $1 billion Nigerians from something. The question is, that was deliberate at Nigerians, not deliberate at foreign direct investments. Because you cannot grow your country without your own people.
Yeah.
No foreigner can grow Nigeria for us. Nigerians must grow it. The question is, how many Nigerians now are we deliberately, we need a Dangote, we need a Tony Elumelu, we need all of them to be there, but we need many of them in each of those sectors. So now they themselves have to find their own, let's just say, numbers that they need to grow.
Absolutely.
And deliberately in sectors, not one, in all sectors, so that we know even if in 5 years this is what we achieved. We have achieved 20 or 30 or 50 companies that are now scaled up into those $1 billion. We change the dynamics in the industry.
Absolutely.
Dr. Fasha, the question hasn't set for you, please.
Really?
Answer it. He is in the real sector. I'm sure you know him, and there are a good number of people in manufacturing in various industries all over Nigeria who would want to say a thing or two about the challenges that they are having. But speak to some of the issues that you have heard Mr. Onofo raise here, sir.
Right, thank you very much. Let me first leave you with this. While we were speaking, and of course, there are still many challenges around Nigerian economy, but I think Mr. Onofo also acknowledged that, we've seen a few shifts, including the contribution of the non-oil sector to the Nigerian economy. And of course, even the dichotomy oil and non-oil, I believe at some point we would begin to move away from that because indeed there's the oil illusion, the fact that only about 35% of oil production actually really belongs to Nigeria, the rest being belonging to accruing to production companies, whether international or local, as it were. So anyhow, I did a quick search on AI while you were speaking, and asking the question whether manufactured good exports has increased in Nigeria. I knew that it increased. I needed to get the specific numbers. So I have a surge in 2025 of 46.76% to 1.1 trillion in the first half of 2025 alone in terms of manufactured good exports. So I must say kudos to manufacturers like Mr. Onofo. It's a very tough terrain to be in. And for those who have occupied that space in Nigeria and continue to occupy that space, we can only say thank you. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult task given so many moving parts to manage a manufacturing industry or a factory from morning to night for one day, given the many things that you have to control. And of course, in line with that, I've also recently been speaking about the need for us to emphasize domestic investment over foreign direct investment. I mean, whereas we need the foreign investments to come in, whether portfolio or direct, and of course we've been having a lot of portfolio investments coming in, which also helps, maybe helps to stabilize the Naira, gives us, some breathing space as it were. But domestic investment is actually what is running this economy, because in the year 2025, we got about $1 billion plus in terms of foreign direct investment. But if you look at the industries opening up in Nigeria and being sustained and new investment, even real estate sector and what have you, a lot of that is being driven by domestic investment. So we're going to be paying a lot more attention to domestic investment so that we can at least encourage our people to keep their money they make in Nigeria, keep it in Nigeria, reinvest in Nigeria, and even if possible, bring in money that you have stashed abroad and come and invest in Nigeria, where you can have higher returns on investment. The $2.5 billion that was raised by Mr. Dangote recently in a private placement, most of that came from Nigerians. And that's what we say, that perhaps Nigeria is not a poor country. There's a lot of money flowing in this country. Equally, the recapitalization of banks, 4.3 trillion, 80% of that came from Nigerians and locally too. So, but I have one or two observations. Of course, I mentioned manufactured good exports, and I mentioned earlier on the fact that the export sector has done pretty well in this country since 2023 because of the change in focus, and of course partly because of the reduced value of the Naira, which has made us to really concentrate on our country and has created a lot of interactions in the local economy, which has taken the GDP to 530 trillion Naira as we speak, with a view to closing at 580 trillion by the end of the year. That's according to the IMF, not me. Remember also someone like Mr. Otedola did project recently that he sees Naira closing at 1,000 Naira. Well, he's an industry player. He says he sees Naira closing at 1,000 Naira by the end of this year. As an industry player, and also piggybacking on the developments in the industry, including Dangote refinery, as well as other developments in the economy, I think we should take him serious and actually look at what he's talking about. So if the Naira will get stronger, of course, that means that the GDP in dollar terms will also spike, while the GDP is also growing in there
are many people, Dr. Fasha, my apologies for butting in. There are many people who will be wondering, well, on the one hand, we're happy that the Naira, because it comes close to 1,000 Naira to the dollar. But then there are those who are still wondering, gosh, my dollar is going to lose value. Who leave them to bother about their problem? However,
exactly. Unfortunately, we're not here for the dollar people.
Exactly.
We're here for Nigerians and Naira people.
So there's an issue that, Mr. Onofo Costa, and I'd like you to speak to it as well. There are sectors that haven't quite opened up. And if we are chasing this $1 trillion economy, you know how seriously and how much more we need the nano and micro industries, nano, micro and small industries. You know how much we need them, given their vast contribution to the economy. The leather industry, is one, particularly in the north. There are those who are wondering how come it's still the way it is. We still, I don't know if you want to quickly speak to that one. Then there's also the steel industry that seems to be crawling over the years. Whether or not it's going to get up at all, that's another thing altogether. The late President Buhari also made some effort in that regard. There are one or two others like that. Right now we have maybe the energy sector and the telecom sector driving the economy. I think it was MTN that just announced a 1.09 trillion Naira profit, up 75+%, half year. Not even full year. Now, and exactly so that if we opened up other sectors like the agricultural industry, I mean, you have just talked about the livestock sector is just one of a huge, ecosystem in the agricultural industry, the steel industry. And Mr. Onofo just said now that we can't talk about manufacturing without steel. So what's the challenge opening up these sectors as well, so that first of all, the micro, small, and medium producers, manufacturers can grow, have work to do, and then we can begin, we can scale up this and fast track this agenda of $1 trillion economy.
Right, thank you. You've mentioned many sectors, and of course, this is a clear ongoing process with different money levels and everybody trying to do their work. We have a minister in steel. We're looking at Ajaokuta afresh. Listen, I mean, we may not have the time to go into all the shenanigans that have taken Ajaokuta to where it is today. We still have a few steel companies, even in the private sector, that are still running as we speak around the country. At some point, even steel recycling and recycling of abandoned vehicles and all of that became a huge industry. There are one or two companies in Lagos in that axis that are minting money from that, even exporting some of that abroad, apart from local use as well. You mentioned agri sector. There are 7 special agri processing zones coming up in Nigeria as we speak. It's an AFDB initiative. Akim Adesina launched 2 of them before he left, but right now it has got to 7 of them being powered. That's 6 in different geopolitical zones and the Federal Capital Territory. The idea being to add value to agricultural products that are prevalent in those geopolitical zones, so that we don't continue to export just raw materials and raw crops abroad. You mentioned the power sector. The power sector is actually being redefined today by renewables. Unfortunately, I would have to do that research myself. I've been looking for the number to see how many megawatts or perhaps gigawatts of renewable energy we have deployed already in Nigeria today, partly by government and also by private sector themselves, and that has changed the terrain for homesteads, households, as well as very small companies as well are able to survive on that, leaving us to really focus on industries like Mr. Onofowoko's company to say, how can we give these guys what they require in terms of moderately priced energy that is reliable for them. And I think we're getting to that epoch. We're getting to that point, really, where we would have to take that decision, and it's coming pretty soon, where we would have to actually make them more comfortable. So many industries are actually evolving in Nigeria today, but look at the space of the economy, you'll be able to pinpoint that there's a momentum already going. Solid minerals is another thing. A lot of things going on in the solid mineral sector. On value addition, 2 lithium factories, in fact 3 lithium factories operate in Nigeria today. The investment in all of them is more than $1 billion in the 3 of them, in Nasarawa State, I think in Kaduna, and I think in the FCT. A lot is going on in Nigeria. I mean, I think we have a hard-working government under the leadership of President
what anyone would argue,
I think that's the way forward.
Yes, Dr. Fashaw, what many would be arguing is initiatives, fantastic, a lot of work the federal government is doing, fantastic, but then the lived realities of Nigerians are another thing altogether. Dr. Chizia, this next one is for you, bringing it all home to the Nigerian. And I asked a question the other time about the place of the states. All products, everything that is made in Nigeria, everything, absolutely everything is made in states. One state or the other. But it would seem like every time we're talking about the economy, we're talking about employment, we're talking about facilitating anything, we seem to focus only on the federal government, no matter how far or near it is from us, as opposed to the realities that a good number of people at the various levels in the various states, companies like Mr. Onofowoko's and so many others, even companies like yours, operate in states. What's, in your opinion, the body language of state governments to helping the Nigerian economy grow? The president has repeatedly pointed out that it is necessary for governors to begin to do stuff, bring governors closer to the people as much as possible. But what are your thoughts on that? Are the governors in any way, or rather state governments in any way, being as active as they should to ensure the Nigerian has a better lived experience?
Well, okay, Ayo, I think that first of all, let me say that unfortunately I was not hearing Tokbe as he spoke. I thought that since we play on the insurance space, I'm able to accept or not quite accept, the views he's making. I think that he's doing so as an insider. But I think that there are a few comments I want to make, before I talk about the states. And the monetary policy rate at 26.5%. It's no. It's not. So I'm sure the central bank knows about that. As Tobo himself did say, nobody can do real sector business at over 30% interest rate. It's not possible. So you're doing some hanky-panky. It's not going to happen. We're talking of manufacturing, industry, agriculture, real estate, mining. And so you cannot have growth in the economy, such rates of interest. You also have a challenge with rates of inflation at approximately 16%. Inflation has to come down to single-digit rate. We had that target for a long time during the last administration. Now we're at about 16%. It must come down. All these things we have to work together. We even didn't talk about insecurity in the land. Insecurity in the land is extensive. And then we have agriculture being affected, obviously, because of this insecurity. The farmhands are all in displaced people's camp. So we have to tackle that and must do something about that. We also have to do something about the values we bring to the table. Corruption in the land. Look at fake agencies and so on and so forth. We are doing budgets, we're not keeping the budgets, there's no budget discipline anywhere. We have multiple budgets, we're running multiple budgets and so on and so forth. I thought I should say that because I think we should, as every opportunity we have, we should speak truth to those in authority. Now let me now talk about the states. All the things that's happening in Nigeria is that all the focus, even the analysts and so on and so on, some of us are guilty of this. When we discuss budgets, we're discussing federal government budgets. Nobody ever talks of the states. And then the states are not beginning to get lots of money. When we talked about the monies that were removed from subsidy, and we're saying, where is this money? We want to know where it is. Where has it been spent? Some of the things we got back is that most of the monies, that's why the states now have enlarged their FAC, allocations. Now, what have they done with it? And so we find that the state governments, they buy heavy cars, a state government buys heavy cars, and they replace it as part of its achievement. And he's not even scared that somebody's going to ask, how did he get that money? Where else has he worked to get that money? And so it comes down to the values we bring to the table. So the states are not doing anything, and they're not doing much. We complain about what's happening at the federal level. In the state, it's even worse. The national assemblies at the state level, they're not barely up to it. They're not doing what they should be doing. And so, the governors have them in the pocket and so on and so forth. And so all these things we are talking about, we have to move in the same direction. And these factors I've touched on are those things that will coalesce to facilitate growth, this 1 trillion naira economy we are talking about. But let me say also, it's a great a clever thing. Supposing we now say the naira is at 600 naira to $1. We'll almost be at 1 trillion naira, without any productivity. Maybe 60% of us are multi-dimensionally poor. So for me, yes, we should sort these things. I commended this government that, yes, it's good to have a focus. It helps us so I have a direction. But, it's beyond that. Let's get going. Let's implement our budgets.
Okay, well, maybe that's another question for Dr. Fasha to note. But let me come back to you, Mr. Onofokon. As a practitioner, thankfully, Dr. Fasha acknowledged some of your pain points. That it's a reality.
Yeah,
it is.
But it's also good to know what exactly are the realities of the manufacturer today. I saw a story online recently, I think it was just today. Some fellow came from abroad and says he invested some £75,000 into the Nigerian economy, and before you know what is happening, the place where he set up and all was demolished right before his eyes. 84 staff, had to be, of course, naturally terminated because they now don't have anywhere else to go. That his only option will probably have to be to go back to, wherever it is that he came from, and those people, God knows what is going to happen to them. That's just one of several examples like that. So are there things like that you think, while the macroeconomic issues are being handled, that the subnationals can do to support whatever initiatives that are being made that will not distract or disrupt the goal that we have set for ourselves as a nation?
I think the biggest problem, I would even say today, is subnational. I will agree with Dr. Chizuba that there's total misalignment most of the time, especially for manufacturers, between the federal and the subnational. I think we have come to believe in manufacturing, or in Nigeria now, that the federal government literally is supposed to do everything. But we forget that only 45% of our money goes to federal government. 55% comes to subnational. But the subnationals, unfortunately, behave as if there's no money. And they now want to turn, everybody wants to have IGL like Lagos. So Lagos has become the storyline. We all want internal generated revenues going up extremely high. But question you ask the subnational, at what cost do we kill the businesses in that state? Multiple taxations. It will be subnationals, you see things. I just stepped down as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria chairman for Ogun State. This is subnational, and you see a lot of problems where agencies or so-called sub-agents, not agencies of government, subcontractor consultant agents, who stay in front of the factory of a manufacturer and shut it down and tell you that some fee, some jurisdiction fee that is not even in the law is the reason why him or her has put himself by rules to be in front of that factory and shut it down. And I've had to deal with several of those issues. You'll be shocked that even the commissioner that is in charge does not know the guy has gone there. So now you have a lot to do. The setback for manufacturers from the subnational side is actually a lot higher than the federal side. The federal are not our problem majority of the time when it comes to policies relating to keeping business going. The majority of the problems happen at the state levels, where everybody from the local government to the actual state wants to drain as quickly as possible. But the reality is, without these manufacturers creating the jobs, the payee goes to the same subnational. So pay as you earn doesn't go to the national, it goes to the subnational. It is where you live, you pay your pay as you earn. If you kill the business, I don't know how your IGL is going to go up. So the reality is, we have to also, I think sometimes they try to realign everything. Tax reform from the federal, they've got the committee to actually work on those reforms to try and get everybody to work within a single window. And that, we have suffered a lot from that. Just like you just said, the person that built a factory and the thing is brought down in one day, all because of certain things. I think sometimes we need to have empathy. A person should not put money into a factory. Anybody should not employ even two people into a place, and the subnational brings that building down. It is wrong in all levels. Rather than let us work to create a solution to how does that investment stay there. We are very quick to, and unfortunately that breaking down thing is also a national problem. It can be subnational. Everybody is quick to break down things, but they say, look, you can break down a house in a day, but to build it is not a one-day event. It takes time. I think there must be a lot more synergy in them for the manufacturers to survive between the federal government's initiatives and the subnationals' zeal to generate income. I think that misalignment is needed most of the time, and it needs for all of them to talk. Luckily, the federal government sits also with the state governors when they are coming together, but I think they need to do a lot more to convince their counterparties to do better. But I'm going to say one thing, and I want to throw this back to Tope, if you will not mind me. Right. I asked one question, he hasn't answered me. The issue of power. Yeah. The federal government has decentralized power. I applaud them. We needed that to be done. Now, if you have decentralized power, it means anybody can generate power, both generate, transmit, even at state levels. But the key thing to the manufacturers, one key area that is still influenced by the federal government only is the pricing of gas. For the past 15 years, we have fought every government predecessing them for a pricing that is directed. They did for under the Buhari regime because of textile. Textile happened to be the biggest employer of labor at one point in this country. But it died a natural death because, of course, certain things were not played right. Now, they were trying to revive that. After man fought, they gave direct incentive to only that sector of $4.55 on gas pricing for the textile sector. A gazette was meant to be signed for the whole sector. Under Kwachukwu at that time, he did not sign it.
Okay.
Till now, we still say it is wrong for you to think it is right for you to get at that time $4.55 for textile industry. The rest of the industry needs the same $4.55.
Okay. Let him quickly answer because we are running out of time. Dr. Fasha, go ahead.
Right, I think as he has said, since it's a perennial problem that they have been raising with several governments over time, it's not in my position to come and give a specific answer on this show. It's beyond this show as well, but it's good that he has come on TV to come and raise this issue. I'm not sure he comes on TV very often, but this also puts more pressure on those that matter to be able to do something about it. If indeed, of course, from the level of MAN, that they are actually pushing this position forward, I think it makes logical sense to try and make the lives of our manufacturers easier. And of course, we live in a new epoch with the kind of geopolitical realignments and the geoeconomic realignments that are going on right now. It's been pushed back to everybody. The World Bank did a report in March and said that it is okay for every country to go and industrialize. And some pundits, especially from Wall Street Journal and so on, they took them up and said, but you told African countries for 30 years that they should deindustrialize and just focus on trading whatever it is they had in the ground. And this gives more impetus to people like Mr. Onofowokan to continue to do what he has to do because it has come to a point now where countries have been told to go and sort themselves out to manufacture exactly what they need for themselves. Before I go, so please, it's back in the table of government. Keep pushing at the level of man. I believe you'll be able to get to that point where you can get better pricing for gas, and equally for the realignments in power. Equally, the Minister for Finance, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, there's a bit of work going on around the issue of budgeting. Perhaps we'll be working on the new frameworks. The minister will be able to do announcements and come back to the public in a few days' time. Interest rate reduction, I believe the central bank has also taken that on board. Hopefully in the next few MPC meetings, we begin to see opportunities of beginning to trend down on the MPR so that manufacturers and borrowers in general can find it easier. Also note that in Africa we're sitting on about $4 trillion in assets under management, which needs to be deployed from pensions, from private equity, from banks and insurance company. We're looking at actually using African funds to develop Africa, Nigerian funds to develop Nigeria going forward. Lastly, I would say that you mentioned lived experiences. And I want to say that, of course, the first thing Mr. President has done is to empower the states. Of course, you heard him say that himself a couple of days back, also advising them on how he thinks they could better spend the money. Of course, he doesn't have jurisdiction to command them, but he can advise. However, the spending, the opening up of local government autonomy, more funds at state level. Akwa Ibom, for example, very lucky state. Akwa Ibom has got over 3 trillion naira since 2023 from FAC alone. Almost 3 trillion naira. That's a lot of money from FAC alone. And lastly, I'll say that if you look at NEL Fund, 1.6 million students in universities have been helped. 303 billion naira has been deployed. So when they talk about lived experiences, that is 303 billion naira that parents would have had to pay in school fees and stipends to those students. So you see, that's why I keep agonizing about this fact I'm not sure we're getting our numbers right when we say that all that's going on is suffering in this economy. Money is being deployed.
I don't think that's what we're saying.
Yes.
I apologize. We're running out of time.
It's a debate
I don't think that's
has to
the
continue
initiative.
from here.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't think that's the point being made. I think the point being made is we are doing well, we can do more. Nigeria has the capacity to do way more than we are doing now. Well, in that same space, I just got a text from someone now who is saying, I think we should, when we talk about state productivity in Nigeria, we should reduce the level of homogeneity. We need to be able to disaggregate those doing well, those doing average, and those who are not doing well at all. That is not to say that they should not all do more, and the person went on to point to the fact that Oyo State led in VAT contribution to the National Treasury, and that information is coming from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation. Well, Dr. Chizia, your closing remarks on this.
Well, yes, I think that what I want to say here is that I think we are, of course, we are doing well, but we have a lot more to do. I tried to outline, some of the things that we should try and turn our focus on, and then the growing the economy will just happen. But if you focus on just growing the economy, and then of course if you set up a target, yes, we expect you to be optimistic about achieving it. But then on the other hand, it has to be underpinned with realism. So I think that we should probably play down this issue of 1 trillion naira economy and so on and so forth. I did say that, for instance, if you adjust your rate of exchange today, you could probably be close to 1 trillion naira economy. What's most important for us, we want to see growth and development. The Nigerians are suffering. So this government should be concerned. But the importance of governance is about the welfare and well-being of the citizens. Nigerians are suffering today, and it's not we, the elites. You go outside Lagos and see what is happening. So I think that should be the focus of government. They have to begin to do, I don't know what you have to do about this unconditional cash transfers and so on and so forth, and how it's going to be managed, not what the experience we had the other time when we didn't have a register that was authentic and so on and so forth. And then I talked about corruption and corruption and corruption. Until we can wrestle corruption to a halt in this economy and just reduce it to a tolerable level the way it is today, we're not going to get anywhere. Thank you very much.
And it's a good start. We already made. Some people will say, thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Boniface Chizia is an economist and CEO, BIC Consultancy Services. We have also had Dr. Tokwe Fashua, Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Fashua, as well as Mr. George Onofowokon, who is Managing Director and CEO of Coleman Wires and Cables, and who is also a co-presenter because he asked a question or two on the program this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, when we return, we're still sticking with the economy one way or the other.
Yeah.
Stay with us. Insurance. Yes.
Are you insured?
Yes.
That's the first thing.
I asked some of my friends to say I'm insured by the blood of Jesus.
Yes, sir. But now we're talking about the economy and the numbers of the economy.
I think we'll get better understanding about this conversation with our guests. But suffice to say, at least for a start, we're talking about the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, which officially hits its strict July 31, 2026 recapitalization deadline yesterday, completely ruling out any further timeline extensions for insurance operators across Nigeria. Now, this legally mandated cutoff under the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act marks a massive regulatory transition towards a risk-based capital regime. Now, what exactly is the job of the National Insurance Commission and so many other issues that we'll be discussing this morning? Let's have it with our guests. Mr. Mayowa Adeyemi is Managing Partner, Mayowa Adeyemi & Co. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We also have, we'll be expecting the other guest who is supposed to join us this morning. For those who have no idea, thank you for joining us this morning, sir. For those who have no idea what we're talking about this morning, what does NICOM do? We know that there are insurance companies here and there, but
NICOM is a regulatory body for insurance companies, registered insurance company in Nigeria.
Okay.
So they're just a regulator to monitor the insurance company and to make sure they follow the laid down rules and regulations as stated in the law.
Okay.
So that's their duty.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are those who wonder whether or not insurance really does work, because our topic this morning on this conversation is asking a question whether recapitalization can fix insurance claims settlements.
Definitely true. So at least to a certain extent, if there is proper monitoring and regulatory.
Have there been failures? In the
definitely,
industry?
there have been a failure in the past.
Talk to us about that.
Because in the past, getting claims by the people that took insurance is always very difficult for them to do. And more so, there's also this foul play, having fake insurance certificates and everything like that. But with this recapitalization, it's going to bring in those who could actually take up the real job of insurance. It gave them more capital base for them to be able to pay compensation as at when due. So that's an advantage of this recapitalization. Although it has its own disadvantage too, because probably the smaller insurance company will not be able to recapitalize based on the new share capital base. So but without recapitalization, definitely it will be easier for them to pay claims as at when due. So it gave them more pool of fund to be able to meet claims as at when due. I think that's an advantage of it. Although it's going to bring in some mergers too, because the bigger one might swallow the smaller ones.
Naturally.
So, and at the same time too, there's going to be loss of temporary jobs temporarily. Most especially those insurance companies that were not able to recapitalize. But it's going to bring in foreign direct investment too, in one way or the other, because now they have more share capital base, and they might see some investors who are interested in coming to insurance sector, most especially on our Nigerian capital markets. So it's going to bring in foreign direct investments too. So there's a lot of advantage in this recapitalization, and I think it's a welcome development. And I think another thing again is that, you see, the level of compensation before is always an administrative procedure. But now I think this compensation now have been codified into the law. It has now become the law. Before, when you are making claims from insurance company, they can decide to delay, they can decide not to even pay you in time, and if you are a bigger firm, you might even go into court cases, which take longer period. But the current act now gave a deadline for claims and also stated certain amount. And they introduced another thing we call a protection fund for those who do not have insurance, most especially situation whereby we have this hit and run people and everything like that. I think it's a welcome development. I think it's new. Okay. It's very good initiative on the part of government, and it's going to even allow us, for instance, our insurance company now will be able to take some other risk, larger risks in the areas of oil sector, oil and gas. In the past, it's mostly this foreign insurance company that normally covers that area because of the capital intensive and capital based. But now with these recapitalizations, they'll be able to do it. Okay. And it also reduces the flight of investment, because all those premium income goes to those foreign companies. But now, most of them will now stay in Nigeria.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so, the deadline for recapitalization was yesterday. A hard stop to it. You've painted a picture of some of the things that might have to be done in the industry to mop up, maybe companies that otherwise could have been left behind. So, what's the blueprint, going forward, apart from, the expected mergers and all that? what are the things that will have to be done to ensure that the industry stays strong and firm, and that the flight that you're talking about will not happen, that the monies will stay with Nigerian companies, and they'll be the better for it?
Well, I think the law has strengthened the powers of the NICON, and they have to really play their regulatory role very well, with proper monitoring of this insurance company. And I think, again, maybe in future, because the way it is now, fine, there's a deadline of 60 days. They make sure, I think they even roll out that procedure guidelines that within 60 days, you must settle all claims. This thing that insurance company usually do. They will be telling you, okay, maybe it's after 40 days. And I say, oh no, it's remain one paper. You get one document that you have to bring. So this one, they make sure that, look, whatever questions, whatever is outstanding, you must settle all claim within 60 days. But that also has its own penalty. Has its own challenges to a policy holder, because you don't have anywhere to get recourse. You get what I'm trying to say? You have to report to the regulatory body, which is NICOM. You get what I'm trying to say? So NICOM can only just give queries and everything. Although the law also stated that now that, okay, where you don't settle in time, there's 500,000 charges and interest accrued on all claims. So to me, I think there should be more enlightenment, more education. You get what I'm trying to say? For the people to know the importance of insurance, and the insurance now is something that is of good thing to an average, either an industrialist or an individual. So the most important thing is implementation. How do we enforce that implementation? How does NICON make sure that they monitored all this insurance company now? And I think, again, it's being driven, the insurance is not being driven by IT now, is now going towards technology and everything. So even claims and everything can be done online and everything like that. Then we can also verify most of the insurance paper now with NID. So they need to actually, I don't know, I'm not an IT person, but they need to make sure that NID is strengthened, doesn't allow for manipulations and everything like that.
Let's quickly bring in Dr. Adebayo Adedokun, who is a senior lecturer of public sector economics at the Obafemi Awolowo University. Thank you for joining us this morning, Doc.
Thank you, sir. My name is Professor Adebayo Adedokun, the Department of Economics, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ilefe.
Okay.
I've been following the preliminary. Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, it sounds like you already have one or two things to say, so please go ahead, Prof.
Because I'm following the discussion between the two of you in the, you see, maybe a preliminary discussion as regards this, the NIRA 2025 is a bold step that I think government should be commended, and also the giant stride of the National Insurance Commission. The basis is simple. Nigeria is going bigger, and then the way people are now understanding what insurance actually means is increasing compared to the way it used to be. Because 2025 alone, year in year, the written premium rose by about 47.3%. That is about 1.3 average of approximately 1.3 trillion. But even with that, we discovered that the amount, the depth of that in the economy is still very weak, low, because less than 1% of the GDP. So it means that now that we are growing, and then people are being sensitive to the importance of insurance, then there's need for solid preparation to be able to take control of the deepness and big economy like Nigeria. So having NIRA 2025 has really done that. Now, with the capitalization, yes, as we have known that only few will survive, course, and then the big one will chop the small one. But maybe before I stop at my preliminary note, preliminary statement, the consolidation does not actually translate to effectiveness, except if the National Insurance Commission is able to really be up and doing. Because one thing is to have the money, another thing is to be responsive. The Nigerian insurance, one thing is to have the money, another thing is for the company to be responsive. How do I mean is that Nigerians are not really having so much confidence in insurance firm, because they will collect premium, or when it comes to the time for people to claim in the past, then you realize there is another story, trying to dodge it here and there. And because of that, many people believe to commit their life and their way in the hand of God, instead of taking it into the insurance firm. So, but with the new NIRA, I think if the National Insurance Commission could take the step, I think the fate of people could be enhanced. And that has to do with how people actually get their claim, including the company and then the big organizations that actually investing or putting their life at stake because of insurance they are actually paid for. Thank you.
But then there is also the issue of, okay, maybe I should ask you, what are your own thoughts about the whole idea of this whole risk capital framework thing being sufficient or not to insulate the Nigerian insurance sector from other broader macroeconomic shocks? Is it sufficient?
Every step ought to be a step at a time. You know that Nigeria experienced this kind of capitalization. The last time was 2005. There was another one which was aborted between 2019 and 2021. There was high level of resistance from the shareholders, lot of there are litigations, and then in the process of that, there was also this problem of the problem of COVID-19, and eventually it was suspended. Now, during that time, if you can still remember, the plan was to move from 2 billion capital base to, for the life insurance, to move from 2 to 8 billion, and then for the non-life and general insurance, to move from 3 to 10, from 5 to 10, then for the composite, to also move from 5 to 10, to 15. Then for the reinsurance, they wanted to move from 10 to 20. You see, so during that time it was aborted. Now they are moving away from that, trying to see how the first 3 could be recapitalized 400%, moving from 2 directly to 10, and moving from 5 directly to 25. And then, from 10 to 15, 5 to 15, then moving directly from 3 to 15, then moving directly from 5 to 25, and then moving from 10 to 35. So, with this, from 10 to 35, so we discovered that with that move, if it is more than that at this point, it's going to be very tough for those organizations or those businesses. Even with this 1 year notification that you should start from that was July 31st, 2025. And then the deadline yesterday, July 31st, 2026, some people are even complaining that it was too short for people to really move from that level to the level of about 400% increase. And so to move, even for the insurance from the level of 10 to 35 billion. So it is first step, and it is good, and it's not once and for all. At the consolidate and spending, each of them might eventually recapitalize on their own, because now we are going to have fewer. And if you have fewer but solid and strong, and then people and the companies and the big organizations, they begin to have faith and strong faith in the insurance world, then it is good, because gradually then people will naturally people and the companies will naturally now go back to the insurance. At that level, the capitalization will be easier. Many people who could not even invest in the insurance world will now rethink and see the solid behavior and then the performances and then be able to have better way of raising another fund that is higher than that. But at this point, I think that if they could achieve this one, then the economy will be on the safer side. Of course, not the once and for all. And then over time, we see the incremental rise in the capitalization, either effected or decision taken by the organization itself or themselves. Now, even currently, we have seen those who have already surpassed the level given to them, and because the composite, one composite insurance firm actually raised about 36 billion instead of 25 billion that is meant to raise. Although many of them also could do meet up. So this is how it should be.
I think what matters here, my sincere apologies, Prof. I think what matters here ultimately is the Nigerian. Yeah. So if the industry, in your opinion, is insulated from the things that we have had, because the recapitalization of the banking industry was for this same reason. So if you think that that will help to insulate the Nigerian from all of these macroeconomic shocks, I think that's really, the beginning of the conversation. Dr. You have a question for Ms. Adi?
Right. So, I mean, with this, for forward-looking operators, the deadline had been set. The recapitalization has taken place mostly across board, and we've surpassed that deadline. We're now in August 1. How soon do you expect them to start deploying, this capital into product innovation rather than just, regulatory compliance? Oh, go and recapitalize. Yes, sir, we'll do that. But I mean, there must be something beneficial to their operations as well. A lot of funding will come into place, which they need to do something with it. So how soon do they need to start deploying this? For the benefit of themselves and of course the Nigerians as well that are doing business with them.
Well, I will say immediately.
Right.
Because what this will brought about is competition. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have fewer insurance companies competing for the premium of average Nigerians. I mean, it's going to bring about competition, and because of this, definitely I expect all of them to start mobilizing their fund and bringing out different products. You get what I'm trying to say? Like now we have health insurance, which we don't have before. These are innovative products, and I'm sure they will start, because they have to make money. They have to justify that capital increase, and because of that, they need to start deploying a lot of products to the market for the people, and so that they can make a lot of premium. The more the more business you get, the more premium income you receive. So to me, I think they should just start deploying. Like rightly what he said, there are some that have even raised above the minimum, and I think that those people show their seriousness, and it shows that they are ready for business. Most importantly now, like we said, they will be able to take up those areas where foreign insurance company usually come in and takes and take the market from them. They too will be able to compete, without foreign companies, so they can now go into more technical area like oil and gas and everything. So I believe they are going to deploy their capital immediately. To me, I know what I mean by immediately. I know that at least we should give them the next 3 months or 4 months before we start seeing maybe innovative products and everything like that. But like I said, since it's only few people that will remain, the competition will be very, very stiff. And more so, I'm sure the NICOM will make sure that, they are updoing by making sure that they meet the needs of the people in the area of insurance and everything. Mostly commercial insurance, business. I think now even the agri insurance policy is in place now. It's even part of the new act. So compulsory. So there are a lot of areas. So they are going to be deploying their resources into the area to be able to make more money and be able to report to their shareholders, and make their shareholders happy.
Right. And it seems to me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that, this insurance, it seems to, I think it targets, big guns like sectors. You talked about health sector, you talked about agri sector. I know that a lot of people, big businesses and big businessmen, let me say, wealthy Nigerians, plugging more into this health, into insurance. But I know in other countries, other climes in the US and the UK, insurance is big because it targets regular people. A lot of people do life insurance, they do all these other mini insurance, and that one grows the market a lot more. It seems to me that maybe a lot of Nigerians are not plugged into insurance. It's just, the big tick insurance policies that are actually, giving these insurance companies the businesses they have. What do you think? I'm not sure a lot of marketing. I've not really seen a lot of marketing targeted at regular people to actually get themselves insure their families, and some people will do it maybe for their children and all that. I don't really see a lot of that happening. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
no, I understand what you're trying to say, because I think most average Nigerians are more concerned about car policies, car insurance.
Yes,
and also because they know that if they don't have that, the VIO or the whatever is waiting for them on the road. And I think it has to do with, in short, the insurance company should focus more on on individual and medium enterprise, because those are the ones that form the real bulk of the real productive sector. So they should focus more. I think maybe they need to retrain their marketers, because you see them around. But at the same time too, they need to put fund into education. A lot of people see insurance as just normal government levy. They say, make I pay, make I go pay. And that's why we have a lot of fake insurance paper in the past. But now that is compulsory, and I also suggest that, in short, when they want to, they should link their database to that one of even VIO to verify before they renew your vehicle paper, to see that you have genuine insurance paper. So the market is there for them. It's only for them to go out there, do more enlightenment, do more education, to tell the people the importance of having insurance. Now, you are talking about the middle class, if there's any, anyway, the upper class, they know the power of insurance. Yeah. And in the past, what discouraged many people was because of that claim. Essentially, they frustrated a lot of people on claims and everything like that. So this time around that there's an enforcement, there's a law that gives a deadline and everything. Maybe that one will encourage people now to buy the idea of having insurance, because a lot of people just know about few insurance policies. Most people don't even know about life insurance. Most people don't know about household insurance. Most people don't even know about fire insurance. So there's a lot of market for them. So they need to go in depth into the people and education. Education is and a lot of publicity, marketing. Yeah. So when last do I saw see insurance advert on the telly? It's going to be a long time more. I think in those days of Niger Insurance and Nikon Insurance, I don't think I see such adverts again in recent times.
Let's bring this to you, Dr. Adetoko.
Professor.
Professor, apologies. Professor Adetoko, it seems to, let's talk about this, because the last time we talked about, insurance policies here on this program, we were trying to demystify the fact that, a lot of Nigerians, when they hear about maybe life insurance, they say, no, I don't want to die, or something like that. When you hear that, and we were also talking about writing a will and all those kind of things. When you hear about you want to do a life insurance, it seems as if you're already writing your death certificate. Let's demystify that. Why do you think people, are not aching to take on these insurance policies in Nigeria? The regular people, the rural people, sometimes they need those things, because even at the end of the day, it's them or their families that benefit from it. From a social point of view, I'm asking you that question.
I think you have identified a very critical issue in the area of life insurance. The way some of these insurance companies who are either specializing or they are just operating it as a composite, the way they go from office to office is actually changing people's mind as regards the issue of life insurance. And because they have several products now, we tell you that, okay, this one is just for your child, maybe your children education, do this for each of them, and then in the next 5 years, this is how they will get back, because you will not die. But if peradventure you pay 1 month or 2 months and you die, the child will still have the complete amount for the 5 years. When they sit down with you and explain like this, then it becomes easier for people to get new orientation. But mere saying that if you die, then this is what your people will collect. And Nigeria generally, with I don't know, in different level of cultural belief and understanding, and then the way we have lost our social capital in terms of trust. Some people will say they are not going to do life insurance because if the person that will benefit is not actually a good child, or it's not even maybe wife or husband, what if he decides to poison me because of my insurance? And then better I don't even go for the insurance at all. But with the way education, the way these marketers are educating people, I think people are starting to change their mind and knowing that they can still collect their money in their lifetime, if it is 3 years, 5 years. Gradually from that level, they can begin to do much more riskier life insurance. But it's not going to be just a day journey. In the developed country, they were born into it. In Nigeria, we are just growing our insurance sector. And then the orientation is changing. Because even the one that you did on your car or you did on your property, when there is a problem with your car or any property and the people refuse to pay, who tells you that people will believe that even if you die, the beneficiary will still be able to get the money? So, as has been said in the studio, there is need for the new act to actually be fully implemented by National Insurance Commission, so that the default rate will go down. And something we should commend also in this progress is that before they allow people to capitalize, all the claims that were outstanding must first of all be cleared. Believing that if you now have more capital and you still owe some claims, then there is problem. So it's a precondition in that act, which is commendable. So going forward with the implementation, and people are getting their claim on those who are not even non-life, then I think the life also will get life.
Prof, how will this whole initiative, how will it restore public trust? I think that's an issue that Joker is trying to even reference here. On the other hand, the one hand is educating people, and then when people have been fully educated, the assurance that they can get their claims without too much bottlenecks.
It's going to be this will be in two phases, or let's look at it from two different perspectives, or in succession or concurrently. One, the National Insurance Commission will first of all have to take the giant stride, ensuring that they give as much as they should be able to do to orientate people about the new policy, changing the face. I mean the new act, changing the face, and then the thinking and reasoning of people as regards the issue of insurance, either life or non-life. Okay, if they have played their own role effectively, and then the insurance firm under the oversight function of the National Insurance Commission, they are forced to do the right thing in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, and there is new testimony. It is going to be, the second side is going to be one-on-one marketing. Because if I learn that somebody who insure car, the car got problem within 2 months or less than that, or 1 week or 2 weeks, the claim is received. I don't need any insurance company to come and market me or try to convince me. The best marketer anybody can have their customers. So once there is change in the attitude of customers who are currently with them, then they will market other people to join up. But if what they are speaking is discourages treatment, even whatever the National Insurance Commission tries to do in terms of public sensitization, we still discover that the whole thing may still not work out.
Okay.
So,
well, Mr. Adeyemi, all of this initiative is for the Nigerian. Yeah. Whatever policies, recapitalization, and the rest of it, the intention of government at that level is to build trust.
Yes.
Of the Nigerian in the industry. But just as you have also identified, even the insurance companies themselves they don't simply be putting out word the way they used to back in time. And so you may want to tell us why you think that is, because in a way, no matter how fantastically you're doing, if we don't know, you're winking in the dark to a fine babe, So how then do we build trust? He has spoken about the experience of Nigerians as the first marketing tool of any insurance company. But then it would seem like some insurance companies are more content with the legislation of compulsory insurance in some ways. That definitely isn't going to build trust, is it, in your opinion? What else do the companies themselves, the insurance companies themselves that are being regulated, need to do in support along the line as this recapitalization?
Well, maybe in the past they were not able to do much because of the level of capital they have, because they could not deploy maybe technology and all those stuff in the past. But with this recapitalization, I believe they should be able to do more. And like Riley said, even let me quickly just recap what Tini said. The law even says that where you have a lot of claimed that you have not settled, in short, they will not even give you a license at all. They will not even renew your license. Now, what thing just came to my mind also while we were discussing is this. Like the life insurance now, we now have different groups, maybe your old student groups, school, community, you get what I'm trying to say, encouraging people to take life insurance together, because one of those challenges, like Riley says, that when the thing happen, although apart from being tied to cultural and all those things, but with enlightenment education, I think people are now buying into life insurance. So to me, they should even go out there and go to those community cooperative and encourage them to take insurance together. We have a lot of cooperative society, and at that cooperative, I don't think that some individuals that actually know about insurance. So they should extend their market to all those areas too. And this time around, because they have to make money, there must be return for the shareholders, return on investment for the shareholders. So I believe that they will now want to go out there and do more. And like I said, where there's competitions, you get what I'm trying to say, it will encourage some of them to do more and everything like. So I think the whole thing boils down on them. Because any insurance company that do not perform, I think management that do not perform, maybe their shareholders should penalize them. Their shareholders should penalize them. So you need to now have justification for that increment. To me as an average shareholder of any insurance company, I expected a high level of a return on my investment. So for you to do that, you need to make more money. Okay. And for you to make more money, you need to go out there and get the business in.
Okay, well, so there is also the plan we hear of pivoting aggressively into enforcing compulsory insurance next.
Yeah, I think
for the Nigerian who is already squeezed, here and there. We've been talking about the economy all day. The Nigerian economy is growing, but the Nigerians' economy
feeling the impact.
Doesn't seem to be growing pari passu. So for those who are already squeezed that way, how do we compel them to make investment in something that they can trust God for, if I can put it that way?
To me, I think maybe the insurance company should actually devise a means of making it as simple for some people. I mean, in terms of the premium payments, the premium. You see, I think in the health insurance, it has a grade. And so also this particular compulsory one too. I mean, they can look at it, maybe they tie it to the minimum wages, that, okay, if your minimum wage is about 70,000, you should be able to pay an insurance of 1,000. And definitely, I think it's one of those things that are exempted. You'll be exempted for tax purpose. It's going to be part of the relief they will give you.
Yes.
So definitely, maybe that one we encourage. But an average downfall man, an average market pepper seller, how do you sell it to them? You have to make it simple for them. You have to make it cheaper for them. You get what I'm trying to say? So the premium should be something that will encourage them. They will see as, it should be just, so let me pay. you know. And I think one of the challenges is they should make it per annum, because someone like me, one of those things that used to discourage me then was when you have to be paying every month and monthly and everything. At times you forget, you know. So they have to do it in a way that it will be cheaper in the sense that not for them to make a loss, at least affordable. Let me use the word for an average Nigerian. You see, you are talking about 1 trillion economy. The 1 trillion economy is not something that is going to trigger it. And when you have a 1 trillion economy and it's not insured, I mean, there is wahala. Even, you see, like I used to remember there was a time as an average agric person, a farmer, doesn't have any insurance that covered it because of the volatility of that industry. You know, it's easy. You can have 1,000 or 2,000 cash fish tank and everything can die in one day. But now there is insurance, and most farmers is not even aware of this. You see, like Riley said, to me, I can't be having 5 billion and not be able to, deploy it to make more money. You know, so they need to. The most important thing is, like we said, is enlightenment, so education.
It's back to the companies themselves.
What's the job of the management?
Yeah, Prof. Let me ask you this as we taper off this morning. In your opinion, how significantly or how much do you see a fully recapitalized insurance sector realistically contributes to Nigeria's GDP?
It depends. As I say that is calculating the GDP, they vary one way or the other because they are sectors that come together to form the GDP. The risk in each of the sectors, they differ. Now, the sector that dominates the risk level will have to contribute higher compared to those who are less risky. So if we want to give a unitary value and say, okay, this is the value it should be, then that will actually not be fair enough. It depends going forward how risky are some sector compared to another sector. So, but all together, what they are trying to recapitalize currently in entirety, if all of them are able to meet up, about 58 of the insurance company that we said we have, is around 1 trillion naira for the recapitalization, okay, which they couldn't even be able to achieve for now. And if the premium paid year in year out of 2025 is around 1.2 billion naira, and which is less than 1% of the GDP, then I think we should know that for any GDP of that size, it will be very, very bad if you cannot get about 3%, 4% of the insurance penetration in that kind of GDP. So less than 1% is bad, 5% is okay. So, but now it depends on the size of the GDP at the given point. So let me put it in percentage terms, between 3% to 5%.
Yeah, sorry, can I think the insurance company too should pay good salaries. Because most of the people that work in that industry, they are not well compensated, and maybe that one too does not make the marketer more aggressive to pursue businesses and everything. You know, their salary modality too, I think is one of those challenges too. So they need to actually, now they have more funds, they should be able to pay their staff very well, and the marketers and probably those agents, you know, increase their commission and everything. You know, you'll be motivated when you know there's going to be more money to you.
Yeah.
You know,
is there any operational
guideline
challenge that you think the companies themselves, or rather that you think the operator, the regulator needs to moderate so that life is a little easier for the operators?
Well, the NICON themselves, they should sit down with the insurance company and deploy. I think they have to look for a way of making use of the technology very well. You know, because averagely now, I think even if you don't have an app, I mean, all these insurance companies can even have an app to make life easier. Then NICON itself, you know, they should be very upcoming, regular monitoring, getting reports. You know, got up time to say, okay, look at NCC. There are times you have a phone call drop, you hold this down, and they are regulators. You get what I'm trying to say. I hope every one of them will now be more, you know, forthcoming and make sure that whatever they are regulating, they should monitor them regularly and be sincere. Yeah. Be sincere.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Mr. Mayowa Adeyemi is Managing Partner, Mayowa Adeyemi & Co. We've also had Professor Adebayo Adedokun, Senior Lecturer, Public Sector Economics at the Obafemi Awolowo University. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Prof.
Thank you.
Yes. When we send people to go and play sports for us,
Yes.
I don't know whether we insure their lives or their legs or their whatever.
We should ensure the expected medals that they get. So that's
Don't mind her.
so that will
please.
not be shocked.
Everything about woman is gold and silver. We'll be right back to talk about Glasgow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, she's looking at somebody, one of her favorite games persons there.
Yes, to the Amuson.
Oh,
Yes.
that's one of our favorites.
Yes.
Everyone's favorites.
What do they call it? Toby Thunder. Yeah, what do they call it? Well, she and so many other people, at Glasgow. Let's just not blow Toby's trumpet alone, but Nigeria's contingent has done absolutely well.
Yeah, there's a Nigerian contingent.
Yeah.
Shot put.
Shot put, yeah.
The guy said he's afraid of his own strength.
Because he's afraid of carrying babies. That everybody should bring babies to me because so I won't crush the baby. Oh my goodness.
I mean, young guy carry me. God forbid that, maybe something was happening. You don't want to carry just hold it like this.
Or before he tries to shot put the baby. Forgetting that it's the baby. Anyway, that's dark jokes.
Okay.
Let's
It's not funny.
But then, yes, Nigeria's contingent at the Games, Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, have been doing excellently well. I think the most rated African, team at the Games so far. I think we have the most. I think we're number 4 or 5 on the table now. As of yesterday, we were 5. We should have been 4th because some of our track and field athletes actually clinched 2 or so more gold medals yesterday. So I think we should have moved to the 4th position.
I like that you are owning it.
I'm not quite.
Which is your favorite game?
I don't understand.
Ludo, I
No,
mean.
it's not Ludo.
It's what?
It's not Ludo. Do they have Ludo?
So that's the guy. That's the shot put guy.
Ah, great. Oh wow.
Yes. Very, very. Anyway, then there was that lady as well. I think she was with the Paralympics.
Yes, that one. The Paralympians, they're just great. They're on the A game all the time. They never fail us. They make us proud. They're the first step to start making us proud before we go to the the other able-bodied people. But how much more? Hey, look. I mean, it's great. Okay, continue.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it. Let's check on our guest here now, who's going to be answering all the questions for you. We have Bukola Olapade, who is the Director General of the National Sports Commission. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
I can imagine that you and everyone in Nigeria, every Nigerian in Glasgow right now, you're all pumped. Very excited about the whole thing. Tell us how it's been so far for you.
We're extremely very proud of all our superstar and upcoming athletes and the officials. In games of this nature, there is the build-up, there is the pre, the during, and the after. Luckily for us, all of that have been well structured and we've executed well. We were expecting 16 gold medals, but unfortunately, Blessing Ogunjiro was operated in hospital 2 days before the commencement of track and field. We lost that gold. Israel Okon got injured, we lost that gold. Unfortunately, our great star Toby Amusho could not clock it on the day, and Prince Salah and maybe the fastest man in the world today also did not make it to the gold podium. But we are very pleased with some of the results coming out here. For example, we have the history of not being having podium for 32 years in 200 meters, for 20 years in 100 meters, for almost 40 years in short put, and in high jump, almost 72 years of the Commonwealth Games. But I agree with you, the power sports, I call them determined people, have again made us very proud. Through Captain Spectacular, Fola Shade and her team in powerlifting, and of course the ever ebullient, ever pleasant, God bless, who don't do every other day in this course. So it's been amazing so far.
You know, interesting that you had to go back to the ones that we have been starring for decades in the country. How those are not as prominent in our eyes as the ones that we are celebrating is another matter altogether that we might discuss some other time. But for now, let us celebrate what we have. So far, how many medals do we have? You said we were targeting at least 16 gold medals. We have some records, but please confirm to us, how many medals do we have now, and what are the grades?
We have 9 gold medals, 6 silver and 3 bronze medals across board. And we are 5th on the table as of this morning.
Okay. So what are the other aspirations or goals that we have, in your opinion? You've talked about some unforeseen situations that have brought us to where we are today, but then how about other things? What are the things, what is the morale of the team or the various teams that we have? What are some of the challenges that we may be having that we may not be aware of?
Well, morale is extremely very high. It's been very high for the past 5 weeks. I'm not in a position to even tell you what has led to that. The athletes themselves have told you in various videos and tweets and things like that this is the first time they're having this sort of welfare treatment, cordial respect, and where even something as little as apparel, the high jumper said something different to her, that the apparel drove her to us performing better than ever. So morale has been extremely very high. I mean, like I said, in events of this nature, you have 1 or 2. Like last night, I went into a tough argument with the coaches in athletics. It was a very tough argument where I stood my grounds on some issues. They wanted to stand their grounds on some issues, and we battled it out. We've moved on from that. Everybody's focused now on the relays today that may possibly give us 4 gold medals. So our focus is on that. But you know, we are enjoying every bit of this. I'm looking forward to a future of sports that is very bright. I'll give you a very good example of what I mean by that. Before we went for the Commonwealth Games, we spoke to one another and we said, listen, this is the preparation for the Olympics and the All African Games next year. So going there, do your best, get your time, your personal best, your season best, and ensure that we come back together. The NSC will sit down and see how we can, you know, we jig things and move things on. Last night, myself and Chairman Malam Shojiko sat down and discussed and said, you know what, for extra motivation, every gold medal we won today will fetch 10,000 rather than 5,000. These are some of the things that we keep doing to motivate the athletes and move things forward.
That's quite a motivation. I wish I could jump out of the studio right now and take that, because that's a lot of money. You know, but tell us, I know that your commission has also initiated what you call an elite performance board, and you recently indicated Ruth Young's silver medal as a sign of a good performance. Tell us about the elite performance board, the structure and all.
What's it good, sir?
I said, tell us about the elite performance board that you set up.
So the early development board, under the leadership of Yusuf Zaki, former Olympic captain, former Commonwealth gold medalist, was created for us to be able to have a scientific approach towards how we pick our various teams. And the experience has worked. When we went to the Islamic Games, they gave us the projections. When we came to this, they gave, so what they do is they have an Hungarian table that they check as against each individual athlete. Their job is to ensure that we don't go for jamborees, we go for specific athletes, high performance athletes, and put together all the high performance requirements that would ensure that our athletes perform at the very top level, and that will also protect our coaches. You know, I was talking to Ishmael this morning that I regretted I was not at the meeting with the athletics coaches yesterday that led to the this young Panamanian between myself and the coaches, because again they act as the medium between the NSC and the athletes and coaches, and they have been doing an amazing job. It is through them that we pay the athlete grants. They just informed me that they are going to increase the athlete grants from 5,000 category A to $10,000 category A from September, so that there will be a training grant for athletes to start preparing for the Olympics.
Right, with the athletics meeting almost exceeding your target of 7 to 8 gold medals, even though there's some of them, you know, as I was saying now, like Toby, she ran 12.19 seconds to win her heat. I think that was the best heat performance for the Commonwealth Games, and then she ran 12.60 seconds to win bronze. I know that she had a knee injury prior to that. It was disappointing, but here we are. You know, but all the same, she still made podium. What are you doing there to ensure that this peak performance continues as the games close out, regardless of what medals, you know, even if the medals we were expecting, I mean, the medal category is not what we got in some of the those events, but we still power on to ensure that whatever else we can do to ensure that the rest of the team still gets on the podium. What are we doing to ensure the peak performance continues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Part of it is for us to continue to motivate and ensure that athletes understand that their welfare matters, even at this time that we're almost done with the event. Toby, for example, you're spot on. Still sacrifice. These are heroes. These are people like Toby are people that Nigerians should emulate. These are heroes that, despite the equivalences she had, she still went out there patriotically to go and represent Nigeria, to work for the country and to position the country. I must applaud to Amusha and so many other athletes who, as against all odds, including the pouring rain that Tepitope got the bronze medal from and Consola got the bronze medal from, it was tearing down. And I said to some of us next to me, I said, do you understand why athletes get so angry and frustrated when they are not acknowledged and looked after all the hard work they've put together? Look at these children on the track, in the rain, suffering to position our country. Can you imagine them finishing this event and they don't get what you have promised? How that will work on their psyche. So a lot of things, and part of it was the hot meeting that we had yesterday. It was a very tempered meeting where, you know, one team led to the other and coaches made their statement, the NSC came in, made our statement, and we said, no, we must all be focused on how we ensure that the athletes are first in whatever we're doing, so that the high performance that we're seeing across the board continues. But this must go beyond just these games and across every sport. I know someone like Cecilia has always been the nature of supporting other sports and promoting other sports. My biggest joy, before I go on a lighter note, we have a clear balance of male and female medalists, unlike before, that 90% of medal will come from the female. I like the women, but I'm glad our boys are picking up.
Thank you for mentioning that one. That's a very, very important question a very important point to make. Yes, your next question.
That is really, really an important point. So, what do you do for, motivation? You said something that you had a meeting, and you were talking about supporting these athletes even after the games are over. But some of these things, it's about the pride and joy of representing your country. I believe that Nigeria is the most successful African team at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. But so far, I mean, going by the latest medal table, we do hope that nobody else catches up with us. But what do you do to motivate these people to say that, okay, you know what? Yes, we do know that you will be celebrated at the end of this event. We will do that, but you need to still motivate them to keep going, no matter the odds. That you said that against all odds, you still need to go. People represent their country for a reason, because of that. So, what are the things that you put in place to motivate them, to keep them in the right frame of mind and that mental state to be able to perform well?
It's a continuous mentorship thing. We must continue to talk to them like they're our own family members. It is important to always show care, because sport is about mental health. It's about where you are mentally at a particular stage. And for
Well, could you please, unmute back, Mr. Olopade? We can't seem to hear you again.
Of course.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can hear you now. Yes.
So I think it's a mental injury thing, and we must ensure that we continue to look after them and assure them of our. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Go ahead. We can hear you.
This is a problem with.
We can hear you, Mr. Olopade. We can hear you. Well, it seems he can't hear us now. But hopefully that when he can hear us, I'm expecting that he would interject us to talk further about
some
this.
of the people that did outstandingly well.
Yes.
Goodness Wachiku Para Athletics smashed their own F42 world record by over 3 meters with a massive throw of 39.66 meters to successfully defend her Commonwealth title in the women's para discus event. Discus.
Yeah. Mr. Olopade, can you hear us now?
In fact, the phone calls keep coming. We are rushing to the stadium for the final lap on the.
We'll be done with you. We'll be done with you in no time now. But I just wanted to quickly raise a couple of issues with you before we let you go. To speak to the industry generally, not just Glasgow. Before this competition that you've gone for, you heavily emphasized athlete welfare and all of that, and consequently, you made some sacrifices to put them in a very, very comfortable place for 3 weeks. The question that I want to ask you is, how can we encourage more of this in a way that the average Nigerian anywhere, all over the nation right now, are encouraged to be a part of this? What are the things that need to be done? Do we have sports clubs that need to be encouraged? Is there something that state governments themselves can do in this talent hunt, so to speak, so that we have a pool of Nigerians that you can call up at any given point in time?
The last 1.5 years have been very excellent. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last 2 years has shown that sport means a lot to him, because he knows it empowers young people in their thousands. And so, beyond going for competition of this nature, we have become a productive mill of producing new talent through our grassroots development program, through our national programs, and above it all, our engagement with federations. And I'm happy to hear that people like Goodness, people like Falashade are encouraging even our special people to say that somewhere along the line there is light at the end of the tunnel that gives hope that I can become successful financially, I can become successful mentally, I can be a proud Nigerian and go anywhere to say, I am a Nigerian, I stand tall through my God-given talents. And a lot of that we have been doing. We're not going to stop. What we want to do is to create a sustainable strategy that ensures that whatever we're doing now becomes the norm. No more would athletes with adding palpitation, or coaches adding palpitation, believing that their entitlements will not be paid. All of that are a thing of the past, and we intend to ensure that this is maintained.
Right, and you were widely recognized for your private sector success, notably as being the architect of sponsorship for the Lagos City Marathon. How would the NSC leverage the massive global visibility of this Glasgow Golden Run to actually leverage on private sector funding, for the athletes, in addition to whatever government is doing?
We keep working. Even as I speak to you, 3 different corporate entities have even offered to give through our contact with them, to give support to the athletes towards athlete training grants. And if you've been following what we've been doing, you can see I'm wearing Puma. When talks with Puma for something that is going to be is a very historical sponsorship for all our sports. The other day we had a meeting with the execs at the Nigeria Puma House in Glasgow. That's how we're encouraged. Don't also forget that we've told you that even National Sports Festival coming up in December in Enugu has already broken the record of being the most sponsored National Sports Festival ever in the history of it, because we've brought in funds from the private sector to support the games. We'll keep engaging the private sector. We'll keep doing things that we need to do to ensure that the private sector not only supports our effort to organize events, but that they also pay good money towards athlete support, grassroots support that goes directly to those athletes that are performing. But also forget, we have said that all stakeholders in sport must benefit within the economic ecosystem being created by the NSC. That is the mandate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That we must carry out.
I remember that there was a sports club, that the Youth Sports Federation of Nigeria, that produced the Under-17 World Cup, the inaugural Under-17 World Cup team of Nigeria back in, I think, 1986-87. How well are such sports clubs contributing to sports in Nigeria today, in your opinion?
I think the states are doing more, and the federations are doing even more. But we must thank our coaches. Our local coaches have been amazing. I'll give you a typical example. In athletics, I see people like Kuleko Shoeto, people like Bishop in Yabate, who are working tirelessly, and they're all over the country in different sports, turning out new talents. Nigeria is buzzing right now with talent in literally every sport, and we can go on and on to say, look, we have our disagreement at times with the coaches, but the truth is they are still the best. We are. Can we do more to educate them, equip them to do more talents? Yes, we can. But as of today, I believe they are the ones doing the most to turn out the talents for us as a country, and the states have contributed to various sporting initiatives, because of course the federations, and we are benefiting from all of that.
Well, let's hope that we can have more federations such as
yes,
that, such more clubs, more, sports, many people in the industry. Go ahead. Yes, we're just closing out. We're just closing out now. Just to thank you very much for your time this morning. Bukola Olakwade is the Director General of National Sports Commission. I appreciate your time this morning. Yes, that's a very, very pacey closing. We had to give him because of that. Yes, you wanted to go through that list.
Yes, certainly. So, Falashade Oluwafemi Ayo, powerlifting, the legendary star broke her own world record twice, capping it off with a historic 175 kg lift to capture gold.
Here I am struggling with 10 kg.
We also have Chukwuebuka Enyekwechi, athletics, the African shot put record holder. We saw him just a little while ago. Delivered a masterful performance to throw his way to a historic shot put gold for Nigeria.
And you know, I can see that on our list here, the para athletes are quite a few.
Yeah.
The para athletes are quite a few here, and for, as you said earlier, doing Nigeria proud before anyone else.
Yes. Or do yourself. You love you. Do yourself proud.
Yeah.
Then you too.
So let's start the Paralympics. No, not Paralympics. Let's start the athletics in your own house. What's the weight that you carry? I promise you, Joke, I've been mandated to take 10 kg every morning to lift the thing up from the ground to this place. It's a war.
Do you do it?
I have to do it. Now, if I am struggling, you can imagine Tony Olumelu is just harassing us all over the place. He's just harassing us. Anyway, we'll be back. I mean, you might just be carrying lift, doing body lift and all of those things.
He has to protect.
Push up.
He has to protect all his assets, including his body. It's not just monetary assets.
I struggle to do 10. Actually, the man is just
okay.
There's so many of these, big boys here and they're just, powering up the body. Anyway.
Okay, so we have some of the athletes at the Glasgow Games. Let's just give you some of their reactions to their performance during the Glasgow Games. Take a listen.
Coming to Commonwealth Games, I have it in mind to put all the athletes that's going to compete in the game on their toes. Like, that's what I only want to do. Even I don't practice in the rain. We have indoor back in the US, so whenever the weather is like that, we just have to move to the indoor track. This was my first time competing in the rain. I'll keep saying this wherever I'm going. Thank you, Coach Kola Adebayo. He discovered me from the Baba Jemu Premier League to here. Yes, he discovered me. Having a coach really helped me a lot because the last Commonwealth game I placed 10th. Yeah, I don't have a coach. I'm just there by myself, like just people that are willing to help, like they're standing for me as a coach. But a layman cannot be a coach, but there is difference between a technical coach and a sprint coach. What I want to say to some people, they might feel like just kit, but to me it's not just kit, because putting on the kit, I'm so comfortable in it. When I got my bag, my stuff, I was so surprised I could get stuff should I say my lanes, my size. I was surprised I could get it because the one they normally give me was it's not even up to the ground. I have to sag to make it not obvious, stuff like that. But I'm so happy they could provide something comfortable, and to me the kids encourage me more because I'm keeping this. If it's the other kids, I give it out because it's not my size, but this one I'm putting on, so I'm keeping this with my side.
My experience so far, I've learned a lot of things, both the past one way and this present. So going to competition every day, you're learning different things. So I have more experience now in terms of competition. And the goal aspect was my target that was target, but the record was just coming because in weightlifting we have to spot winning medal and record. There's sometimes that people win medal, but they don't do the record. So sometimes when you do record and win medal, it will always be excellent for you. Since the last Commonwealth game that I won bronze in Birmingham, after 4 years, I said no, the next 4 years game, Commonwealth game, I have to win gold. I have to win that, and training and focus, and also trying to see how you can qualify, because you have to go like 2 qualifiers to qualify for the Commonwealth game. So every single time, every single day in the gym, I have to make sure that I use my time well in terms of training, so that I can see that I can improve my technique and my training for the next Commonwealth game.
I don't think there's anything much there, because this is not the first time competing in Commonwealth Games. This is the second one, and I don't think there is any barrier there. It's hardworking, enough training. Then you put more focus. Then you have belief in yourself as well. So I think that would be the best option for yourself to achieve what you are aiming. My preparations start at home, going to camp, from camp to Aberdeen campaign for training, here to Glasgow. I think it wasn't easy, but we made it at the end of it. What I want the government to do more is that the way they are focusing on other sports like football, athletics, and other sports like that, I want them to put more focus on weightlifting as well, because weightlifting now is broadcasting, is trending in the world right now. So I think if they put more focus on us, we will deliver more.
Stop am here. I don't give you money that time before, Abi. You don't balance, huh?
Who is this one again? People just come to a new area. You don't even know the people around there. You just want to enter inside the compound. Hey! Oh, wait. Where are you going to?
Inside.
Inside where? To do what?
I they go find person for here, man.
Who is they go find now? You don't even know anybody there. You just want to enter inside the compound.
But I know the place where I come now. I just.
Oh, that don't enter that compound though. Don't enter that compound. If I wait. You don't even know what's going on here. You just enter.
I won't go check.
Oh, that don't enter that compound though. If you enter that compound there, yes, we have problems in this area. Are you hearing me? Why are you biting?
I said this is in Lagos, okay? I tried to go find my.
Oh, so this is your first time. You just come. You don't know anywhere. You want to enter inside the compound. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you looking for?
Who is you two?
Who are you looking for?
I said my sister there. I won't go find her.
Who is your sister?
My sister and my sister.
Okay, call your sister.
I know.
Call your sister. I must talk to that your sister before you go inside.
This is where you want to start.
Oh, that leave all this thing.
If the music is start to play, you know go fit dance.
Music. Oh, you cannot do music. Oh, look at this one.
If I play the music, you
ask about me.
Dance it.
Look, Oga, if you want to, I will embarrass you here now. Let me. Hold this thing for me. Hold this thing.
Don't embarrass me. Don't look me anyhow.
I will do with you all this one for me.
I said I want to find person there.
Oga, so you are not entering there.
Don't let me change them for you now.
For who? For you. Oga, you don't know me. Go ask. I dey speak to you for this area. I don't know.
You dey talk to me. You know I see them looking like this. Now because I promised them when I dey come. See, I'm not going to do anything for you. You dey show me something. Okay, and now you gonna know who I be. I gonna let you see the thing wey happen for 90%. You know what you go see her now. Make I count to 5 first. 1.
Thank you. Is it not this?
Your hold don't finish now. Your hold don't finish.
1, 2. As if he's counting, doing countdown for wrestling. Well, who is our guest of all those people you can see? Just calm down. He's an award-winning Nigerian actor. I can't hear him.
An award-winning teddy bear.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
It's not me. I did not make it up.
What do you mean by that?
Oh yeah.
Calm down. Please, erase what she said from your ear for now. Yes. He's an award-winning Nigerian actor, producer, voice artist, and event compare, known for his distinctive teddy bear physique and deep, rich voice, Oh, they have already put you on the screen, so there's no point. Greg, Teddy Bear, Jeffra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. You went to Harvard. You went to Harvard. Award-winning Teddy.
Award-winning Teddy Bear, come on.
She didn't go to Harvard.
Thank you again.
We've been talking about this for how many years now?
My brother, sometimes, like they say, man proposes, but God proposes. Finally, sometimes you can't proposes, maybe.
Do you know that his shirt even has a teddy bear on it?
Why do they call him Teddy Bear Joku like
That's how we roll, you know.
What are you rolling?
Yeah, regular.
Oh, wow.
How has it been?
It's been good, you know. It's followed the normal trajectory, the ups and the downs and the rounds.
Which actually makes it exciting. It would be a boring journey if we didn't have ups and downs.
Exactly.
But just make sure the vehicle is strong enough to climb.
Exactly. And then when it goes down, still has enough to push back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Let's start. There are many people who wonder, all these actors, many if I can only just have an opportunity as well. I remember my late uncle, he would be driving and I would sit beside the man and I would just, the guy would make driving look like very, very easy. I would just say, if I can just, I don't care about the start. Let me just jump in when he is already driving.
It was not an automatic car.
No.
That's
and he made it so easy. Just the same way you make acting so easy, so natural and all of that. Is it as easy as it looks?
First of all, thank you. And no, it's not as easy as it looks. Even though I would say for me some characters are easier than others, but it is never really easy because acting for me is being. So it's not easy to take yourself out of your body and welcome a totally new, strange character and embody it such that it is believable to the audience. So you lose yourself for a moment, and nobody likes to lose themselves. But because I enjoy it, because it's my talent, because it's my gift, we get by.
Before I lose this, train of thoughts, I mean, talking about some roles are easier to act than others. Just a couple of days ago, Abia State celebrated the 60th memorial of Ignogo, Ojukwu, and you've played his role twice or thrice. How was that easy? How were you able to get into it, knowing how big this character was?
You already highlighted a wide. You already affronted the point. And that was, when I was making that statement, that was exactly the thing I was thinking of. When you play fictional characters, you have the ability, yes, with the director, with the story writer to develop the nuances and all that. But when you play somebody who is or who was, there's no that many other people know. That many other people know. And somebody as famous as Ojukwu, you just really have to be that person. Else, there's characters like that can make or mar, your career. So that's a good example of how difficult some characters can be compared to others. Playing that for me, I keep saying it, and I have no shame in saying it. It has been, that's one of my most, it is my most challenging yet satisfying character, and it's also more satisfying to know that I'm the only actor in the world who has played it twice.
That you must have done it twice, so I mean, you must have been so perfect that we found no one else to do it.
That leads me to this question.
Yes.
The Civil War is one of Nigeria's most unforgettable moments.
Indeed.
And it is a story that I'm not sure we have one cohesive narrative for. Add that to several other Nigerian or African stories like that. The Woman King, for instance. We had to have a Viola Davis from the United States of America come play it. Not that there aren't other actors in Nigeria that are stunning. I have been hearing rumors that Was it Idris Elba or Denzel Washington that some people are touting to come and play Okonkwo? Things fall apart. Not that they are not good actors in their own, but telling the African story by Africans. First of all, telling the African story is a challenge because most of the time the narratives are usually convoluted or not straight. Another thing is telling the African story by Africans is a challenge for our industry. What's your take on that challenge?
The ecosystem in Nigeria for practically all the sectors is quite unique. There's no sector that doesn't face one challenge or the other. And, I don't want to go into the reasons for all that. We all are aware. So it also, doesn't exclude the entertainment industry and this particular issue on ground. Now, telling African stories really isn't that hard to do, but then the enabling environment we need with which to totally convey it the best way possible is just what is absent. There are so many. We talk about Hollywood, for instance. If you know how much governmental support they get, how much free will they enjoy, sponsors and all that to make great classic big budget movies, we don't get that much here. I want to give a thumbs up and a big shout of praise to every Nigerian producer, in short, every Nigerian worker. It's to you guys, everybody, it's crazy. You have to put in the work, you have to go over and beyond to get things done that shouldn't really demand such level of stress, and that is the key reason why things like this will happen. For those touting, back to the story about that, producers also want to make money. And sometimes I feel that we cross the line, speaking as a producer now, when we try to balance, revenue generation and talent proposition in the movie. So that would be the only reason why in telling an African story, you would not look at true African actors, as it is, or as it were, and bring in, foreigners, quote unquote, because he is an African in the true sense. And then again, an actor can be anybody. So he can do it. So it's really a slippery slope. There are two sides to this argument, but yes, we would want an African story. We want a Nigerian story to be told, enacted by Nigerian actors, Nigerian crew members if possible, and if we have to bring in some support from anywhere else.
No way. Well, let's go back to that character. How did you prepare for it? It's like a way of saying, okay, you have heard about the movie Michael. Now his cousin had to prepare for about 3 to 5 years or so, just preparing for one role. He spent 2 years preparing to get the role. Now he started preparing to for the role, itself and all. That give Nigerians an inkling into how that plays in the mind of an actor of your status. Jafar is not originally an actor, but here he is an actor. How do you prepare for such a moment?
Yes, so let me use the Juku character, and with most every other character I audition for. And at the point of auditioning, I already am in that zone, because most auditions they give you a character bible to tell you about the actor, the character, the background and all that. So I do the homework. For someone like Ojukwu, you have to do the homework. You go to the archives, you get videos, you watch, you smoke with what hand, his cadence, his mannerisms, the use of Igbo catchphrases here and then, English, the way he laughs. You just have to watch and watch for characters that are, or where, you watch, you mimic, an easy way to say it, you mimic them. Then you also have to get into their feelings. What was he fighting for? What was his motivation? And if by think that it will help you express it convincingly, because you can just look at somebody and do what they're doing. You can dance, I can see you take 2 steps and make 2 steps. But when I know why you are taking those 2 steps, I will take it differently. I will take it like you, with that motivation coming from within. So it's a combination of both. A combination of both the internal experience and the external experience to make that perfect expression. So you do the research, you study the character well, you study motivation around that character, you think of how best, now speaking generally, including fictional characters, how best you can play out this character such that the message would be delivered enough to create that emotions that character is supposed to create. Because I always want people to watch me and express some kind of emotion. If I want you to cry, I want you to cry. If I need you to cry, you have to cry. If I need you to laugh, I want you to roll off your chair. It's not just for me to go there, do my thing and get paid. No, I want to move you.
And an unforgettable experience.
Precisely. That is it. So all that goes into it. Study, prepare, and like I said at the beginning, become that character.
There has to be some kind of background preparation. For instance, why did you become an actor? Were there options? Did you study engineering or veterinary medicine like some people? Or like Forever, who was a mechanical engineer, he's now mechanizing jokes? What's your, tell us your background.
My background. Okay, so I studied business administration.
Yeah.
I have a master's in human resource management, okay, and also a certificate in project management as well. But the thing is,
those qualify you to be a producer.
And a people's person, exactly. I did start off studying accounting. I wanted to be like my father, my late father. I wanted to toe the line as well. Okay, let me we have enough time. Let me backtrack a bit. I actually was meant to be a reverend father, at least probably the first time.
I was thinking wanted to be reverend father. Okay, I'm listening.
If you know of the Knights of St. Molumba, the Catholic Church, my father's uncle started it, Reverend Father Abraham Ojeifua, and I said, up to now, nobody that uncle carried, followed in the footsteps of being a clergyman. So they wanted me. They actually sent me to a seminary. It started off a minor seminary, and I knew I wouldn't really do well there, so I knew that I would want to get married someday. Let me put it more TV friendly. Yeah. There are some skills I wanted to deploy for the for as long as it should be. It is what it is. And I wouldn't have wanted to do that while wearing the cassock. So I literally ran. I jumped the fence at some point out of the seminary.
Wow.
I did it about 2 times, and I think on the 3rd time my dad told my mom, look, it's okay. Leave this boy at home, So from there, school, then went into accounting. I was doing pretty well, but when I lost him, it derailed me. I lost him, and I lost the flair and the desire to be an accountant. Okay, so I had to backtrack. I went into IT. I forgot to put that. I'm also certified network engineer. I did IT then, and that was when I dabbled into film. I've always loved entertaining people. I've always loved dancing, expressing myself. Back in the day, I would dance and get sprayed 50 kobo and all that. It was nice. So there was this popular show that came up there, the music show. Don't forget the lyrics. So I got on the show, and I was the first Nigerian contestant to actually attempt the 1 million naira question then and lose. So that was like a sensation. Anyway, you pay me for you, stuff like that. So and I was on the ads and all that at that time, and I was like, okay, this could be a good stepping stone to get into the industry. People had commented on my voice, on the way I speak, and my friends. Amongst my friends, the party never started without me getting there. I was the life of the party and all that. So I went to auditions, had my first gig. I got the role sometime in 2008. Okay, I got the role, got multiple roles. But after a while, I told myself, look, if you allow this to consume you, you forget about your education. So I took a break, went back to school, got that one, and I got a degree. I studied accounting for about 4 years then, 3 years before I left it. Then I got my degree in business administration, and I came back, and didn't look back again. And for me, every year I sort of like do an appraisal, evaluation of where I was at the beginning and where I am at that point, and each year it kept looking better, and that further convinced me to remain. Okay, and within a few years, sometimes I think I skyrocketed too fast, probably, and within a few years, the recognition, the awards, the big screen, the lead roles started coming in, and that just kept me going. And I would always say I enjoy it. I enjoyed being here now. I see you nod your head, enjoy what I'm saying, gives me some kind of joy, it's making you laugh. You even say, hey, shaking your head, you're exercising your neck. I'm helping your spinal health,
That's the benefit. You don't
Well, did you exercise your neck? I just want to make people happy as long as I have the opportunity to. I want to move people. I want to get people thinking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I just want to make an impact. It's not always about the money. Of course, I have to pay my bills, but it's about the joy I bring people. I know there's a story I want to quickly tell. I was walking down the road one day, going to an audition. A pickup put up, hey, you, come here. Right. This guy looked at him, man, and I kept walking. He drove by. I said, I'm talking to you now. I'll be there for 14 seconds. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay. Where are you going? You should enter. I'll take you to anywhere you're going. Wow. So I got in the car and we started talking. I said, do you know that you're the only reason I watched Tinsel at that time? I said, why? He said, prior to that time, he'll get home, he takes his dinner and it's in the room. But one day, while eating, my scene came up. He enjoyed it and he started watching, and because of me now he spends at least 30 minutes with his wife every day, unlike before. So it's so deep that just what I do, giving a couple 30 minutes of quality time to spend together, and they can get to talk about life rather than what they did before, which just eat the food and go away. So it's far-reaching what we do. It's far-reaching, and that for me is very satisfying.
I hope Tinsel is on YouTube now, because I'm sure. Let me not say more than that. But your industry is a very dynamic one, and have been in that space before, particularly in the acting space, where everyone becomes family automatically. You just bond. Everyone just bonds. But I really wish that bond could be spread to every other aspect, part, and sphere of human life in Nigeria. How do you think the entertainment industry can foster this unity that you guys experience when you are on set?
I think we do that through the stories we tell. We tell stories about love, about unity, about oneness. It's pretty hard, or almost impractical, I think, to become family with everyone. You don't know that brother. And even I tell you, and I'm very honest, and sometimes I get knocked for being very honest. The truth is, even the unity you see sometimes on set or amongst filmmakers is not always genuine. Some are, some aren't. Some are stronger than others. But I get the idea of the question. The only way we can do this effectively and realistically is by pushing that narrative, that story. The same way one guy was caught one day and said he became a land robber because he watched an actor who was always robbery scene. So what robbery scenes, it's crazy. The same way we want people to say, I got into charity because I watched this film and I saw the positive impact of being charitable. The same way we want tribes to unite And when you speak to them, say, oh, we watched this film and we saw what uniting, keeping away our differences can actually lead to in terms of development and unity. That is how I believe we've been striving to do it, and we can do it.
Who dared to call you Teddy Bear?
Who did? So my uncle did. My mom's youngest brother, God bless his soul, Uncle Sebastian. Okay, guys, back then there was this cartoon, Super Ted.
Oh.
Yeah. So he just started it, calling me Super Ted. Then my mom picked it up from me because he just stayed for a while and left the house. So she kept, at the point I even thought she was the one who gave me the name, until one day I got a eureka, and how sometimes you just go back and you see your life flash by. With my uncle, but my mom sort of like owned it, and yeah. So apart from making it my brand, because I do look like a television. It's also a way to immortalize my uncle, my mom, and my family as well, because it's an inside name. The family, everybody Teddy. So it's just a way to keep the legacy going.
Even though Teddy is not on your birth certificate.
Even though it's not on your birth certificate. I mean, the Rock is nowhere on his certificate, but you know who the Rock is,
Who is this?
Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear.
Now, there are those who would also opine that your industry is unregulated. So in 30 seconds, can you give an inkling into why do you think that is? Because there are those who will say that leaves you and many other authentic actors in your industry pretty much vulnerable.
Yes, I would say it's not totally unregulated. There are some regulations, and we are still working on getting better, more encompassing regulations to come in, and I'm sure that's why they say that, because, if you see an actor now, a few years from now, you see the actor begging for some stipends to live off, and that's because there's no regulation that ensures that every actor gets, royalties and all that, which I think I believe that is a major reason people say these things, then the entry is porous, yes, everybody has talent, but then you still need to hone it, you still need to brush it up and show some level of certification before you get into it and prove yourself. I believe it's work in progress. Obviously we are not where we are when I started, and obviously when the industry started, so I'm sure in a few years things will settle down and we'll get better, God helping.
Is there a way that the industry immortalizes its own? No, let me scratch that. This is not a seminar. What do you expect from Teddy Bear within the next 1 year?
Within the next 1 year, I'm working on having another production. I'm working on actually also going into content making, because the exit of the big players, Netflix and Prime, sort of has slowed down the market for big budget movies, and unfortunately many YouTube producers sort of like just classify me and some of my colleagues as big budget actors, and they find it hard to pick up the phone and say, oh, can you do this YouTube movie? We do all movies. I will not charge you the way I charge Netflix or cinema. So because of that, and because I want to remain relevant and keep.
Are you planning to inject AI into your stuff?
Oh yes, of course. It's the way to go.
So there will be AI teddy bears.
I'm not going to tell you everything, because I'm suspecting you. I'm suspecting you because you're liking this teddy bear.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Greg Teddy Bear Jeff is an award-winning teddy bear. Sorry.
Yes, award-winning teddy bear. Leave it like that.
Leave it like that.
Yes,
they get
just leave it.
Don't you?
Don't say anything else.
This is not the one that is in supermarket.
Award-winning teddy bear.
They see the award-winning teddy bear here.
Thank you for coming. I love the show today. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your Saturday morning. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Joker Rogers.
Today, and she's Joker Rogers, as she said, even though there was an overlap. Enjoy the rest. Oh, by the way, today is August 1?
Yes. They were born in August.
Sit down. Drink water. Bye for now.